So, like, right when I got in from England, I got a day's rest, got back on a plane, had a speaking engagement, and just got back. So I'm kind of spent, man. I don't know how you're doing it. I don't know how you keep up that pace. You got little ones too.
Yeah. You just, hope for the best. You realize that one of these days you're gonna get a break, I guess. I just got back from I did DC and then Philadelphia, and I just got back in yesterday.
What was in Philly? A speaking engagement?
No, actually, you heard of the Netroots conference, Netroots
Yeah.
Nations
Yeah.
Progressive?
Yeah.
So I went to that. Tons of great panels and on foreign policy and adaptability and just
Good
incredible
stuff.
time. Uh, had one of the panelists reference one of my papers while I was sitting
Oh,
in the audience. That was
nice.
pretty cool. So
Was that a surprise or did you know it was coming?
no idea. I was just walked into that panel and a thing I'd written on uh, defense contractors and how much their C-suite makes and stuff like that.
Well, good
So,
for you, man. Having an impact, brother.
yeah,
Every
so that
day.
was pretty cool. Other than that, just conference for 9 days. I was gone. So
It
that's a
adds up
bummer.
when you're in a hotel room for like after that third or fourth day, you're just like, man,
Oh,
I
it's the
want,
worst.
I want my
So,
bed back. I want to see my kids. Like, I just gotta get out of here.
it's exciting for a few days and then
Yeah.
it's over. That's the part that
What's
anybody that
next?
doesn't
What
travel for work.
What's next for you?
I've got a couple of small things in June, and then I've got a big thing. I'll talk to you about it offline because I don't have all the.
Details yet?
Well, I have a lot of the details, but I don't have it. I don't know if they want to do like a big announcement on it or what, but I will. I'll tell you about it off. Once we get finished, I'll call you. We'll talk
Okay.
about it. But it's going to be sort of a bigger thing. Like I don't want to take any. I don't want to pull any focus off of some
The
of the other
rollout.
people involved. So yeah. So, uh, but it should be good. It'll be a lot of. It'll be something that'll. I think it'll mean something, which is I
Oh,
think what I've been looking for a while. So. Uh, but other than that, man, just trying to keep my head above water, working with Amanda Nelson on this y'all vote thing to try to get local politics and stuff back into the focus for a lot of places, especially in the South.
I saw your
And
piece. I haven't listened to it yet, but I saw that you posted on that.
yeah, she's Amanda Nelson. If you don't know Amanda Nelson, she does Amanda's Mild Take. She's kind of a bit of a firebrand in Southern politics. Like she really gets it. Takes it for everything from a historical perspective. So kind of right up our alley. But
Yeah.
she's brilliant and had an opportunity to work with her on some of this. And she's certainly her and Kate Barr out of North Carolina are certainly the leaders of the y'all vote thing. I'm just doing what little bit that I can to kind of help along uh, the idea. But it should be it's going to be really important. They've done a lot of good work in 4 weeks. So
So, these Southerners are like rallying.
man, so tired of it not getting through to people that like you got to change it at the local level. There's nothing sexy about local politics unless you're involved in it. It doesn't. People don't. People don't understand how much it actually matters to their everyday life. It's far more about the local election than it is the fancier
Utopia.
federal stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all designed to be local, man, and that's the blocking and tackling. It's like practice. It's not the fun stuff. It's just
Yeah.
but that's what makes your quality of life work, and everything bubbles up from there.
Um, it's also the thing that gets you the most. A president can't do much when you have a lot of really good people at the state and local level. Like you can do a lot, but you can't really choke those people out if you have good people at the state and local level. Uh, and so I think that's going to be the important thing, especially with Mike Johnson. Just an audio tape just released from Mike Johnson talking about how they're going to have to go after Medicaid and Social Security next. That's
They got him on tape.
yeah,
Good. You know what? Good.
Uh,
Good. And good for the focus on local government because see that's why I'm optimistic about this moment. Is because if that happens, Robert, if all of this comes down to a reconstitution of getting it back and flexing those muscles that we haven't flexed in a generation, it means we're going to emerge from this better and stronger. It does. I think it does.
I believe that. I think getting people more focused on. I mean, if you could just get the right people, the people that don't want to run for office, like the people that just
Don't want
not
it.
necessarily do it begrudgingly, but are like, if this is what it takes, then I will. I will
It's
do this. Then those
service.
those are the people we want.
It's
Uh,
service. Yes, your duty. That it's Cincinnatus. You show up to do your duty and serve your city, your community, your state, your country. You're doing it for other people. We need more of that.
I do think we're going to get it. I mean, these two ladies, and I don't mean to just take our whole time talking about two people who
No.
I admire, but Kate and Amanda has signed up 107 municipal candidates in Virginia in 4 days.
Woo!
That's that's incredible.
That's unheard of.
Yeah, and that's just people saying, "All right, I'll do it."
I need to connect with her. I mean, my firm does a lot of local government stuff out here in the West. We got to get her organization. I bet you could. I bet with the right people in the right states, that becomes a national movement quickly.
She
Already
signed up
is.
500 content creators and influencers in 3 weeks. I mean, Amanda is moving the needle for sure.
Sounds like it already
Um,
has. Love to meet her if she's got time.
oh yeah, Amanda's great. We've become very good friends over the last several months, but she's fantastic. She's really doing the work. I love people making a measurable difference in a way that is not always out in the open. It's easy to do it, be flashy on the internet. It's not as easy to recognize the real problem and go after that part of it. And I think that everybody has their avenue, and I think she's really attacking hers. So
Takes everybody doing their part, right?
that's right. She and I both agreed we're unelectable, so we're not running for office. We're just going to.
Everyone has their role. That's why when people ask me, I was like, no, I will not run for office. I'd be the worst candidate of all time. But I'll help people. I absolutely will help people.
I will 100% try to identify the people that are best at it and point them in the right direction. This week was so great for meeting the right groups to work with. To really be able to like hit your hit your wagon to that are like Democracy Forward. They're the guys doing all the lawsuits against the Trump administration.
Yeah.
They're winning like 96% of their lawsuits. So they're the ones that are really keeping us as measured and like in check as they can be. I mean, and there's probably just not enough people talking about the work that they're doing. Uh,
It does feel like offense now.
yeah,
I mean, slowly. No, it's not like unleashing the cavalry, but it's like,
yeah.
but it does feel like the move is forward. Like the lines are pushing forward now. I was sharing with a lot of reporters now. In California, finally, I know we take a long time to do stuff in California, but these races have been kind of called now, and a lot of people are talking about how did all of this happen with Becerra? Who is he? What does it mean? And I was pointing out, I love your thoughts on this. When Swalwell was kind of emerging, he was emerging because he was the most anti-Trump person. The FBI was being sicked on him, and Trump was attacking him personally. But when his campaign explodes or implodes, it happened in mid-April, which was right at the same time, Robert, as Trump's numbers starts to hit 37, 36, 35. And I'm going to say something right now, and I'd love your impression on it. But people are not as afraid of Donald Trump right now as they were 6 months ago or a year ago. And I'm not saying he isn't a threat, but he just seems like a feeble old man who's been he's just kind of much more impotent than he was just a few months ago. And I'm seeing a lot more, especially amongst Democrats, who are saying things like out of their candidates, they want a vision, they want experience, they want competence, they want a steady hand. Where for the previous 9 years, they were saying, I want a fighter. I want somebody to take this guy on. And it feels like, and knock on wood, I'm not getting ahead of myself, but just as a political consultant who looks for a feel of the ground, it does feel like people are thinking about that post-Trump era. I think we've talked about this a little bit, and it feels like I just don't think people are as afraid of him anymore.
I think that people are starting to realize that that they are going to have to do things without it. And if you don't start making that turn, I mean, if you get into the midterms still carrying the yoke of Donald Trump as the be all end all of the Republican Party, what's the Republican Party anymore? I mean, it dies with him then. I mean, if there's nothing, if that's all you have to hang your hat on is whatever Trump says, then as soon as his life is comes to an, or his, even let's say he outlives his term, then you have nothing left. Is he can't be a kingmaker forever? The clock, whether he believes it or not, uh, death comes for all of us at some point. And you, if they don't start making that adjustment, right? Like you can't chase this millionaire making model, the sustainability of the billionaire, and making sure that all of these 1% keep accruing. Well, that doesn't last very long. It just, you know, I don't mean to use the French Revolution as a dramatic point here, but they will extract all that they can out of it because they don't understand the stability issue. And maybe they don't care. They can, people are still making baby. They'll just keep replacing it or something. But they look at it as a company. We'll extract all that we can out of this company, and then we'll sell it off. Doesn't work with it. That's why you should not have business people running government. They are two different things. But they don't know any different. They look at it all as ledgers and percentages on paper. It's not real people. They never see that when people are mad at Mark Cuban because he's having lunch with Kevin O'Leary, or because he is standing behind Trump as he signs this deal. As much as we want to talk about, oh well, we thought Mark Cuban was one of the good billionaires, they don't understand the difference. They even if you grew up poor, once you have that amount of wealth and you spend some time in it, you think you made it because you're tougher than the rest, and everybody can do it. Like you still think you're attached to this world that you're no longer attached to, uh, and that is, he doesn't really care that much. He thinks he does, but he's still friends with Kevin. He doesn't think Kevin's that bad of a guy. He's just a little misguided. Kevin O'Leary is a terrible human being. Like there's there's no salvation of that man's humanity. It's over. Like he doesn't care about anybody but Kevin. And is upset. He doesn't understand how his project is reduced by 75% in Utah. It's like, yeah, because people don't want to forfeit their clean, breathable air so that you can have a giant data center. Like that's um, and he talks about, we'll just put it in Jackson, Mississippi. Then, like Jackson, Mississippi doesn't want it either. Like put it at your house, Kevin. Like if you believe in it that much, put it underneath your house. Different story, I bet. Like it's not it, they don't understand it. And I think that's the difference, is that they have no concept of what the rest of the world is like.
You can't at that level.
No,
You become untethered. You're just out in the atmosphere. Yeah, there's no relatability.
Well, there's no stress tied to whether or not you're going to eat, or once you get to a certain level of, once you're a multimillionaire, you don't care what the price of gas is.
You don't even know what it is.
Unless you're a truck, unless you own JB Hunt, and those those numbers are really affecting your bottom line, you don't know what the price of gas is. You're not buying it. Somebody else is putting gas in that car.
Yeah,
It's not it, or you're buying it by the, you have a gas tank under your home where you're fueling there. It's not a. I
yeah.
also don't think regular people understand how wealthy people actually live. Like it's not. If you think they just have extra money in the bank, it's a different level of wealth.
A silly level of wealth. And there's a lot more billionaires now than there used to be, by the way.
Oh
You
my
know,
God, that's
that's what's so weird about it. It's that's what's so concerning is there's like communities of billionaires now. And when they've lost touch with reality, they kind of hang out in their own little clique and their reality becomes even more distorted. I had I'm gonna tell you a story. I was working with a billionaire early last year, almost 2 years ago now, and he had bought one of those hyperbaric chambers. I'm not even sure what that does, but you sit in it like for a couple hours a day, and I guess it does something to you. But it had leather chairs in it and like TVs, and he would talk to his other billionaire buddies when they would all do their hyperbaric chamber time. And I think what it was it was trying to it does something to your body. I don't know how it works, but they would talk, it does something to I don't know, change your molecular structure to give you a longer life. But they would all kind of hang out and just kind of like chat, like in these chat rooms while they were doing their hyperbaric chamber time. And I was just like, this is nuts. Like, is this really happening? And indeed it was. Indeed it was. It's not. They're not like us. They not like us.
um. I feel like there's probably a lot to be said for like just going outside. You could just
Yeah.
go out in the sunshine.
My,
Uh,
yeah.
who knows? I wish that I could sell stuff to billionaires, right? I can just be like, you need this thing, and it's very expensive. But only the best billionaires have them. You could
Yeah.
sell anything you wanted. Like everybody's getting them. Uh, that's uh, speaking of weird shit. I know this is completely unrelated, but did you
Yeah.
see that Trump said that he might make the UFC arena on the South Lawn permanent? He compared it to the Eiffel Tower. Like,
He compared it to the. Of course he did.
mhm.
I did, at some point, did somebody say, "Where's the 10-year-old child that says the emperor has no clothes?" Like, where is that moment?
I think there's plenty of people saying it. I think that they have kept him so
Isolated?
isolated. Um, just the move of going to the NBA Finals game last night. You're an unpopular president. Any other president, I think, would have just stayed home. Like they would not have made that move because you made yourself even more unlikable by the people that were at the watch parties that are down outside of the garden and stuff. Now they have to go find somewhere else. Like you've turned it costs $10 million in taxpayer money for you to show up at that thing. Um, that's for a thing that you didn't need to be at. Nobody cared about you being there. Nobody wanted you there. Um, it's not like you're known for going to Knicks games. Like you're not Spike Lee for Christ's sake. You know, what I mean, it's like
Not a thing for you.
um, so that is somebody that is fundamentally unfamiliar, unaware of his of the way he.
Standard.
And I don't even. I think somebody else has got to be making up this radical leftist thing and feeding him that to make him like, oh, everyone else likes you. It's just these crazy people on the left that don't. That would have to be 75% of the population is crazy. Like that's what you're. That's
Communists.
what you're looking.
75% of them are communists.
Yeah, that's a lot, Mike. Like, it's a whole lot. So
Uh,
you know. Anyway, that's
I had not heard that about the UFC arena. It's heartbreaking as much as it's infuriating, but it's gonna pass, Robert. This dark hour will pass. It will.
it
I,
will. I
it's gonna take a long time. It's been a long time, brother. It's been a decade. I was thinking that when I was flying back, I was like 20% of my life has been waking up thinking about how I could best fight what's going on. What a colossal waste. But it will pass. It will pass. It will pass. I am faithful to that.
I think a couple of things will happen. One, it made people like you and I sharper. It made us uh, smarter. It gave us a glimpse into the same things that our heroes looked at, where we had to really wrestle with what we thought democracy was, with the fundamentals of governance. Like, we had it made a lot of very smart people a lot smarter, I think. I'm not including myself in the very smart group, but there are plenty of very smart people that have had to wrestle with some things, and I think have come out better on it. I think that it will fundamentally change our governance standard, uh, if we learn as a people how to ask for the right things and don't just take that. I'll look. I'll use Steyer as an example, and I kind of crawled all over him for this, because a lot of people said that Steyer was the most progressive candidate on the ticket, and it's just flatly not true. He said a lot of progressive things, but he has no. Um, and
Record.
I don't know what anybody's like feelings about him are. This is not a. It's not a personal attack. This is just the reality. When if someone doesn't have any experience, and then they suddenly have all of these progressive talking points with no policy behind them, um, and I wouldn't say I attacked him, but I even said terrible things about Roe. Not terrible. I commented that Roe shouldn't have endorsed him because Roe's a policy guy. And I think you and I look at him as very policy forward. I realized very quickly that a lot of people, even that follow me, and not everyone, but I would a good like a percentage that was higher than I expected, like 20-30%, didn't understand what I meant when he didn't have any policy direction. That just saying like I want single payer health care isn't a policy. That's just a thing to say. Like, uh there's no path to get there in that. And that's all I was saying that I wanted from Roe is challenge him on those things. If he doesn't have a record of progressive governance, then we need to know what your ideas are. And it's not just that you're a billionaire, you can fix everything. And so if anything we get out of this, I hope it's that people learn to ask the right questions. Like, what are we going to do about this? How does it affect us at the local level? Like, what do we do next? Um, and what's the plan to get there? Not just, I want everybody to have free. Mamdani said, I want free buses, and here's the way we're going to do that. And now there's free buses. I mean, that's a governance plan. Whether you agree with him or like him or whatever, the man said, this is what I'm going to do, and he did it.
Yeah.
That's policy that works. And that's where I think that we should hold the rest of our politicians and candidates to that same kind of standard. Is if you're not telling us what the plan is, I want to know what the plan is. Otherwise, it's just Trump.
That's it.
It's the same thing.
Exactly. Yeah, that was my and just as a social critic, I'm so past kind of the parties. I'm kind of past ideologies. I'm willing to give everybody a benefit of the doubt in this moment because I don't think anybody knows. Like we're exploring new ground, and if it's free buses and there's a plan, do it. Let's make it. If you're gonna make people's lives better, working people who've got no other way but to take the bus because you can't, then help them. I'm not gonna sit here and say that's a socialist policy or a communist policy or a capitalist policy. I don't care. Let's start making this stuff work. But it bothered me so much that Look, I got to confess here. Like, it's the first time in my life where I'm just looking at these ultra wealthy people and saying that's not a sign of success. That's a sign of a system that's really askew. Like, he didn't make $50 million. He spent Robert. He spent if you add what he spent running for president, Tom Steyer spent over $500 million running for president and governor of California. Do you know how many hungry children could be fed for that? How many bellies could have food? How many houses could be shelter? I mean, look. You can say the same thing about bombs falling in Iran. We're spending $1 billion a day, and I'm just as critical of that.
Sure.
That is a society that is just doesn't have its priorities straight.
If
Not even close. Like, not even close.
um the problem I have is the number of people that I heard say, "Well, Tom Steyer is one of the largest donors or one of the highest like climate activists in the country." Great. A climate activist does not make a governor. It stay being an activist. $500 million toward uh, climate groups that are working on it is huge. If you want to make
Yeah,
a difference, make your measurable difference there. It's not everybody is supposed to be the governor of California. I'm not. I'm not that guy.
I'm not either.
Um, but I understand policy and understand that we're supposed to have a plan to get there. And I think that we should hold ourselves to a standard of having the best possible people be our representation, and not just whoever is even the most well spoken person. I nobody is going to check everybody's boxes all the way. But I think that you have to find the person that says, "This is what I'm going to do. Here's how I'm going to get there." And look, that's how the right beats up people on the left. If Mandami says, "I'm going to give free buses," and if they can find a point where they say, "Oh, well, that free buses cost 25 people their jobs," and he hadn't already planned for that and said that these 25 people are going to lose their job, but we're going to move them over here to this sector, then they're going to eat his lunch on that. But the man's smart enough to know that there's a plan. This is the locality. This is how this is going to work. This is how this is going to affect cab drivers or whatever else. When you have those sorts of plans in place, people can't come at you, and that's where we lose so often. On it, there was this period of time where people on the left, or anybody left of right, we centrist and over, had this idea that we have to have these short messages that match what Republicans are doing. That we have to have these little short, brief things that we shout, and that's our policy, and that's our campaign platform. It's like, you don't have to do that. You can be better than that. You can have plans that work, and you can outline them and say, "This is my place. This is how it works." And people will respond to that if you're not sending them to a website every time to tell them you've got to read this dissertation.
Right. That's
Give
right.
me the give me the bullet points when the question's asked
And Mom Donnie did that.
every single time.
Yeah,
He knew what he wanted to
masterfully.
do. He also didn't have things that were so pie in the sky, Mike, that they weren't achievable. To come in and do what he did in 100 days, that man he knew what was going to work. He knew how he was going to do it, and to go from a deficit to flat inside of 100 days and implement the things that every critic said was going to cost him the city and it was going to burn, brother.
Why, yeah. Why aren't they touting it more, Robert?
I I I think that some people are. I think he is the kind of man that is just like, let the success speak for itself. Like, if you want to,
But why isn't the National Party?
they don't want it. Like,
No.
no.
But
I
why? It works. I mean, am I that fool? I don't understand democratic politics. I'm not gonna. I mean, I'm not gonna pretend that I
I
do.
would say that if you that works there. I think it works in your bigger cities. Like you take a lot of what he's doing, it would work in
LA.
maybe LA.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it would work in LA. Certainly, like your Houston's and Boston. Boston's had free buses for a decade. Like, so that's not even a. The idea of having free buses is not a new thing. Like Boston's done it forever.
See, like when Bernie was first saying like free college, like we've had free college in California for since the 60s. Like it can be done. We've been doing it for decades. Like, what do you mean?
Every You can go to Oxford in the UK for free if you can get in. Doesn't
Yeah.
cost you a nickel.
Yeah.
Um, so you just have to let go of this idea that these things are supposed to cost money. It is Harvard gets grants from the government. It doesn't have to cost that. It's a way of keeping elite people feeling elite. It's that if you got in because of your uh, because of your achievements in high school, but you wouldn't have been able to afford to go, then that was you were a one off. You were the exception, kind of thing. It's College should be free. It shouldn't cost anything. And if you can get in, you can keep your standards as high as you want to.
Yeah.
Uh, but it shouldn't cost anything. Um, what you send out in the world should be your repayment. Like the reputation that you get from your product should be uh, what you're after. But there's I had this theory that Schumer and Jeffries don't really want to win that much because when you're in the minority, you don't you make the same amount of money, but you don't really have to produce. Like, there's no expectation of production. That's why when they keep saying like, "Oh well, we're not in charge. There's nothing we can do." Oh, there is. You can put forth single issue bills one after another. Make them vote on them. Um, if you're
Do
really interested in helping people, that's what you do. You
you
make
think
them
they'll
vote
do that?
against it.
Will
No,
they?
God no.
What they're not gonna? You don't think that they'll do much?
I don't think that they will. I don't think that they will take the rest of the term until the midterms and push uh, single issue bills that the Republicans would have to vote against.
You don't.
Uh, mm-mm. I mean,
Why?
they would already do it. I mean, it's not like that's not a novel idea. Like that's not.
But they don't control the floor right now. They can't put them forward, right?
Well, you can. I mean, they should have enough votes that they demand a vote on. I mean, they did with the Epstein files. I mean, you can.
Yeah.
All you have to do, you don't have to control the floor. You have to make Mike Johnson say, "I'm not going to bring that up for a vote," and then you say, "This one bill is only about
This. Yeah.
expanding health care. It's nothing else. There's no riders on it. It's one sheet of paper. We want to vote on that. We want to vote on making sure there are no cuts to Social Security. It's a one issue bill. We want to do that. Make them vote against it. Make them not bring it up for vote. And you may still lose. They may still not do it. You may not get anything pushed forward, but at least you're taking all the fluff out of it. You have it's the best possible way to 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 push your case forward. But they're not going to do it. So
I
uh,
don't. I don't think Jeffries and Schumer are going to be there after November, are they?
nah, not a chance. Schumer for sure is gone. Um, Jeffries, I think, will be replaced by Roe's going to run for office. Roe's going to run for president, so he doesn't want it. I'll be interested to see who steps forward. I think AOC is going to run for Senate. So I don't think she necessarily wants it. She would be great, but I don't know that she'll want it. Maybe Maxwell Frost,
Oh wow, young guy.
young guy, very kind of up and coming. Uh, so I mean, I think there's some options out there. I don't think Jeffries is the guy. I don't think he holds it for very. I don't think he. I don't think he gets it. I think there's enough people that are very, very,
They're done.
yeah, and especially with the young people coming in, I don't think that there's much of a chance of him holding on to the power there, uh, especially with the APAC stuff and how unpopular that's going to be. I I think Chris Van Hollen. I think I've said this several times before, but I think Van Hollen takes Schumer's spot um, as the Democratic lead in the Senate. I think he's fantastic. So uh, he's definitely doing the work, and he's been openly critical of Schumer for several years. So uh, really, since 2019, he's been very openly critical. Uh,
I can't see the caucus, either caucus continuing. I just can't. But like I said, I don't know the contours the way that you do. I mean, I can look at it from 30,000 feet and say this does or doesn't make sense. Mike Johnson, by the way, did you see his comments about LA saying, coming after the elections and election integrity?
I
Saying,
think it's very funny that people forget, like, it always takes several days for these primaries to come out. Like, it's not a
got done in 10 minutes.
um that, but it's not. This isn't even the first time it's taken several days. Like, it's
It's not that long
always,
by California standards. It's been pretty quick. It's like six
yeah.
days.
So I think anything that they can point to and say, ah, see, they stole uh the election. See, well, Spencer Pratt's a, excuse my language, is a fucking joke.
Yes.
So I know there's a lot of people around the country that thought that he should, but remember, it's Los Angeles,
Yeah, the
and
16% Republican in that city. I just
yeah,
before we jumped on, the reason I had to go late is I did a TV hit in Los Angeles where the reporter said, "Mike, you were saying this, weeks ago that this is what was." I was like, I wish it was because I was smart. It's not. It's obvious. It's he's a MAGA Republican in the city of Los Angeles. This is not a battleground state. It's LA. It's the deepest blue part of the country. But I will say, share with you, when I was in England last week, there's eight Americans, all Americans in that little group that we were working with. All of them thought Spencer Pratt was going to win, and I was like, "You guys are nuts! Like you guys are all on the right wing media ecosystem. Like, how do you get to a point where you're that delusional that you can't see past basic math?"
so they like truly thought Pratt was going to win.
Oh, Pratt thought he was going to win. He was saying, "I'm going to get 50% in the June," like sincerely. He just posted this weird meme of like a duck on a pond. He hasn't conceded yet. And all the speculation is like a duck, all the actions under the calm water. Like, I don't think he's going to concede. I think he's going to say this is fraud. I think what Trump's already saying, and Mike Johnson is saying, the fraud is so deep here that you can't see it because they've got no evidence. And Bill Asaley, the U.S. attorney here, is a right wing nut job. I mean, one of the worst I've ever seen. And they're gonna. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what they're gonna do. This might be the predicate for what they're gonna try to do groundwork wise for the midterms, but they're not gonna find anything. There's nothing to be found. All of this. I've been doing races in California for 35 years. Is it taking longer? Yes, it's taking longer because we allow for so many ways to vote here. But it's not just because we're so big. I mean, that's a part of it. But the real problem, Robert, is you can vote in so many possible ways and venues, but each way has their own sorting mechanism to maintain the integrity of the process. And you don't just start counting all of it at the same time. You do one and one and one to make sure that it's orderly, that it's got integrity, that it's done right, that the count is accurate, that it's checked and double checked and documented and videotaped and stored correctly. Like, these are professionals. And So like they're going to do the same thing that they did in the 2020 elections, just start making stuff up and make fake documentaries. What was that documentary Dinesh D'Souza did? Like they're just it's madness. It's willful ignorance. It's not even being a sucker. You're choosing to be a fool.
The surprising thing to me is that when they win, there's obviously no interference. Like, oh
Yeah,
man,
no, it was perfect election,
obvious.
clean.
When they lose, it's they just can't fathom a system where they lost these elections. And it's like, well, we've seen way there have been too many elections where Republicans were supposed to be the stronghold, where they lost by 20, where there were 23-point swings, for them not to realize that, like, hey, this has been the this has been what's going on the entire time. To choose California and think that a former reality star who is dumb as a sack of bricks, by the way, like,
Yeah.
was going to win. I don't care if you do like him. If you think, oh well, I'd rather have him than what, is that really who you want to be the mayor? No. In your heart of hearts, do you think that young man is who you want to be mayor? Because I wouldn't trust him to make me a sandwich, much less.
Run the second largest city in the country. I don't know, Robert. I think they do, and that's what like. I'll tell you why they thought he was going to win. They're like, "Have you seen the ads? Have you seen the ads?" And I was like, "Yes." First of all, they're all done with AI by people in Hollywood who are screaming at the top of their lungs that they're all losing their jobs to AI. It's the same people, and his biggest base of support. If you don't know Los Angeles, a lot of the West Side, like Santa Monica, Beverly Hills, West Hollywood, those are separate cities. They have their own city councils, their own mayors. They can't vote in the LA mayor's election. And that West Side where he was so popular is like only 18% of, I'm sorry, it drives me nuts. Only 18% of Spencer Pratt's campaign contributions came from people who live in the city of LA. It's a 16% Republican city. And
When you have people like that look at, oh, I'm going to support him because I can own him, because I can convince him to do things that I want him to do. That's and it doesn't really affect me. If he does a shitty job, it won't affect me. It'll just affect Los Angeles. It won't affect Santa Monica.
yeah, yeah,
That's an easy. It's so easy to put your support in that basket. Um,
yeah. And there's never a solution. There's never a plan, like we were just saying. About, there's never a plan to fix anything. It's just all how bad it is. And look, LA's broken. It is. There's a lot of fixing that it needs. I'm going to move to LA in September. I'm going to teach at USC. I'm going to live right in downtown LA. If anybody knows downtown, it's not a big downtown. Like it's not. LA's got issues, but you can't become the mayor without having a basic understanding of government. You shouldn't be the mayor of Smallville without having a basic understanding of government, let alone the second largest metropolis in the country. And there's all it is well, he's got cool ads, so he should be the mayor. Like, is this really what we're doing? And the answer, unfortunately, for about 22% of the people is yeah, that's exactly what we want to do.
Mike, I can't think of a. I would hate that. I would not want that job. I would not want
No,
to be the mayor of Los Angeles.
no, you would not. No, you
Um,
would not.
I I do think that when you take someone like Spencer Pratt and he's like, oh, I'm going to be the. You don't understand what you're asking for.
No. He
You
signed a
truly don't.
reality TV contract. To him, it was a platform for more celebrity.
Hmm.
Kind of like the guy in the White House. Didn't really want to win in the first place. He lost his contract with The Apprentice, and what's the next big platform where there's constant cameras and attention? He signed Spencer Pratt signed a reality TV contract just a few weeks ago, and they were hoping he'd be the first reality TV mayor. That's what this was about, Robert. Truly.
I hope he loses that contract now that he's not going to win.
I can't imagine they'd keep going with it, but who knows what he's probably going to be like. Well, that's the end of season one. What are we doing for season two? I'm going to start claiming voter fraud, and Trump will come in, and who knows? I don't know.
Well, well, how do you think Bass is going to do? I was surprised that she is going to be the likely winner.
I mean, she wanted Pratt. Again, it's not just Mike Madrid saying this. Anybody who's run campaigns knows she wanted to run against Pratt. Now that the competition is from the left, and I said this on a podcast yesterday too. I'm of a certain age. I remember 1993, Bill Clinton's second year in office, first year in office, really. He wins in 92. LA and New York have off cycle elections. In 93, there was this brewing anti incumbent sentiment. Rudy Giuliani wins mayor in New York, and Richard Riordan wins as the mayor of Los Angeles. Two moderate Republicans. No one ever thought that would be possible. Now what's happening is there's no real Republican alternative. Republicans aren't serious. They're not a serious governing party. So you end up with goofballs, Spencer Pratt. But the challenge now comes from Zoran Mamdani. The challenge comes from the left.
Yeah.
And now it's coming from Nithya Raman. Look, Karen Bass is a very weak incumbent. Can she win? Yes. Doug Herman, her consultant, is one of the best. He's a friend. He knows what he's doing. But they're both gonna just eviscerate each other. The only way you go to this is you just got to go negative, and you got to go negative quick. Start setting the frame of what your opposition looks like. And curiously, and I hate to say this, but Spencer Pratt probably controls 22% of the vote in LA at this moment, which is needed to become mayor. So what does he do? Does he sit on his hands? Does he go behind the communist or the socialist? Is the way he's going to talk about it. I mean, he's got a platform if he's astute enough to use it. I don't know if he is or if he isn't. I don't know. But I don't think the goofiness is over, I guess is what I'm saying. And that's just, we've got real problems, man. And it requires more than reality TV nonsense and clout chasing and celebrity, reality TV stars. There's
What's the
people. Go ahead.
No? You're a strategist, consultant to all of the things that. Uh, what's the winning message in LA? Like, what is the?
Well, if you're the incumbent, you have to push Nithya Raman out of the mainstream. And she did have some stuff that she said about defunding the police and banning outdoor barbecues. That's not going to play in LA. Nithya is going to have to make the argument about competence and just attack. It's like it's kind of like Mom Donnie. Look, I'm glad you brought that up. Ramen, if you so that look, that's what Bass's whole strategy is. She has to make her an extremist. Ramen has to. The case has already been made for change. People are open to it. Just close the deal now. You're up 2 runs, bottom of the ninth. Go to the bullpen, bring out your closer, right-hander. Right? She's coming out to the mound. So what do? You got one of two things. Either you just attack, or you do kind of what Mom Donnie did, which is you actually have some solutions that are easy to understand, that are very relatable and achievable.
Yeah, day one stuff.
Day one stuff. And look, Mom Donnie was an exceptional candidate. He just was. The dude's a generational talent. Dude's good. I don't think Ramen's that talented. I don't think many people are, by the way. I'm not saying she can't rise to the occasion, But I'm saying that if I was advising her, I still think that you've got there's plenty of material to open up the incumbent because LA's really bad, man. Like it's bad. You were in LA. You saw tents on the streets, just miles of it.
Yeah.
It's bad. And we can't seem to fix these basic problems, civilizational problems. That was the exposure that she had with the no water in the reservoirs and the fires. There was an explanation for it, but if you're the incumbent and the lights aren't on and the water's not coming out of the tap and the trains aren't running on time, that's when you lose your job. And that's where they're at. That's where LA is at. So can she win? Yes. Is it gonna be a fight? Oh, it's gonna be a dog fight.
The so I believe that there are certain places in the world that are so unique that you can't from an outsider. Like I can't. Uh, I'm I'm fairly sharp. Like I can look at a lot of things and tell you like this is a feasible direction. I think that cities like New York and LA are so unique in their problems and in their just their city planning and development that issues like unhoused people or homelessness in those areas, it's more than just that this is what we're going to do. I mean, it's a plan that stretches more than one term and probably more than one candidate or more than one mayor. This is a plan. We have to set this thing in motion and we have to actually execute it. Uh, and I don't know what that is, not having ever, been in a situation where that's the thing that I've dealt with or seen. And someone can come from a city like Little Rock that says, "Oh, well, we had this program where it put people to work," and but you also have to have people willing to do that. And addiction's a big problem. And how much of it's addiction, and what do we do, and how much does it cost us to put people in these programs, and where does all that come from, and how do we? I mean, the question will always be, how do you pay for it? Like it's a situation. Um, anyway, it's not an easy problem. That's why I don't think people like Spencer Pratt are serious. Your your idea is like uh, the DeSantis thing. We'll put them on a bus and we'll send them somewhere else. That does not solve a problem. That's a band-aid on a bullet hole. Like it does not solve a problem. And I think that whichever candidate that does step forward and says, "This is the incremental plan. Like these are the steps that get us there." I think people will get on board with that, whether it's Bass um, or the other
Ramen.
like
Yeah.
Ramen. The person that says these are the things we're going to start day one. It's going to take us 3 years to get it implemented, but these are the things that we're going to do. This is who it affects negatively. This is who it affects positively. This is what we're going to do. I think anybody with a plan like that wins. I think that cuts through the bullshit and it cuts through the. I think it hurts Bass the most because she's had the opportunity.
Exactly.
I think the defund rhetoric on the left needs to change, and we need to start talking about real plans of when we say defund, what we mean is we want to move funding from militaristic police force to community programs that actually do prevent crime long term. Like that's the rhetoric. It can't just be a like we talked about earlier. We can't just use these talking points or these flash marketing slogans that we think works for the right, so we think it's going to work for us. Like defund the police. It sounds like you mean we're not going to have a police force. And if
Right.
that's not your intention, then don't say that.
Exactly.
Say what you intend to do. Um, and that's what I think whenever you have people like Ramen that they're going to look and say, oh, we're going to defund the LAPD. Like, that's not what you mean.
So don't say it.
What you mean is we want a less militaristic police force. We want one that serves and protects, and we want community programs that are going to take underprivileged youth and give them other options besides crime potentiality. Um, and we don't want a police force that feels uh, like a occupying force. Like we
Yeah,
don't, we want to have a city that feels comfortable and safe to be in. That's a lot better, stronger message than just we want to defund the LAPD because it hits well with some people on the far left. Uh, you know, police in and of itself, and the reason that police forces were founded are terrible things, and there's a lot of racism that I think is systemic with that. Uh, but
especially in LAPD, by the way. Yes.
especially LAPD.
Yeah.
Uh, but there is a use for having a police program that does do the things that it's supposed to do. There's not much use for having one that is you know, a mayor's military. Like it doesn't work well with people. So I think reorganizing it to the way it's supposed to be used is probably a winning message instead of a defund it because you're going to lose people that have never been uh, under police scrutiny or uh, racially profiled by the police because they don't understand it. And it's hard
That's
to get them
exactly,
to understand it.
that's exactly right. And
Uh,
I never thought about it that way. I mean, I learn something every time I talk to you. But if you said it that way, you're going to have 75% of the people behind you because that's what people want.
yes, if you've ever spent any time in a country, I spent a lot of time in Honduras.
Yeah,
Um, they have military vehicles, people with M16s everywhere. It is, I mean, it's kind of like New York, or prior to Mandami, or like going to DC where there's tanks and Humvees and National Guardsmen everywhere. They're not carrying the M16s, but it feels a little occupied. You don't feel safer because of it. I never
no,
felt safer in Honduras because there was armed guards everywhere. It made you aware that you were in a place that needed them,
exactly. Mexico, the
and that
federales. Yeah,
and that's not what I want in the United States.
no.
I want to feel safe in my city because my city is safe, not
Yeah.
because you have brought in
Armed
an armed force.
soldiers have to patrol,
Yeah,
military has to
um,
occupy.
that's not a safe place.
No,
That's Fallujah in 2015, in 2012. Like that's not what I'm after.
correct.
And I just don't think that people have wrapped their brains around that yet. And until we have people that are running for municipal office that are willing to have that hard conversation with both sides and say, this is what we're really after. This is what we want to do. And I think Mamdani was the first person to say that we are going to have a police force that works for the people to serve and protect them. That's what we're going to do. Um, we're going to have, we're going to funding here. We're going to support the NYPD, but we're also going to make sure that the job they do is for the benefit of New Yorkers. And I think that that's a powerful message. The the real estate, like the office real estate in New York, is up like 35% over the year prior. I mean, so everybody that said that everybody was moving out, no, they are in fact moving in.
How are they not talking about that nationally more, Robert? How?
'Cause I think it makes them look foolish for as much as they fought the man on these ideas. When you have to start agreeing that democratic socialism is not this scary thing that you've made it out to be,
Well, how come the DSA
that's
isn't saying it more?
I think the DSA is saying a lot.
But Nithya Raman, well, Nithya Raman should be saying what the dudes were doing in New York City's working.
Yeah, she should be for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but she's not. She's moderating.
Um, I don't know who her campaign strategist
I
is.
don't either.
But if he's in this chat, if you give me and Mike a call, we'd be happy to run some ideas by you. We can really get this thing worked out for you. I, there is you can't look at New York in the way it is functioning right now and have a negative thing to say about it From a deficit perspective, it's not costing them more money to have these things. He's improved over a $10 billion. He turned over a $10 billion deficit inside of 100 days. That's incredible. Next question, like that is whatever he's doing. Run on. Just say I'm going to do what he's doing. You don't even
That's
have
what I'm
to.
saying.
Uh, he spent 8 years working in New York municipal politics, learning how the
The
city
budget works.
works,
Yeah.
and he took that and he made a plan and he ran on that plan. That's the way government is supposed to work. Uh, Having people just come in off the streets and think that they can be the mayor of a major city is crazy.
That's Spencer
Uh,
Pratt. Yeah.
uh, and you know, I think that there is a lot to be said just in let me take the core ideals and the ideology of Zoran Mamdani, not necessarily exactly how he did it, because that's not going to work everywhere. But if you take just the basic principles of I'm going to make this budget work for the people in this city and then make it work for them, whether it takes, you may not be able to do it 100 days. That guy, like you said, is a generational talent. I don't know what his next step is, but I hope it's important. Being able to take those sort of ideals, put them in play in a place like New York, Houston, Chicago, wherever, you can really have fundamental measurable change that it's not going to work in Little Rock, but you can take the same playbook and attach it to things that would work. We don't need free buses necessarily. I'm sure that it would be great to have some. It would probably be a lot easier for us to get to free buses, but there's parking situations that we need dealt with in Little Rock, and there are green space areas that we need that are more functional. And I mean, just the biggest thing we would have is universal daycare, universal childcare. If you could get that in a
I
city
was
like
gonna
Little
say
Rock,
that's probably a better, yeah, focus there.
um, then you can get people to work. You know, we are fortunate that we have a lot of accessible produce, but we still have a lot of food deserts, small towns that don't have that those Dollar Generals and stuff eat up. If you can go in and put his plan for having state owned or city owned grocery stores that are paid for by that are affordable, and it gets those sort of dollar store or Dollar General type stores that don't have healthy food and healthy produce and make things available because they've run out the competition. If you can start making those things available, you win. I mean, you have a better citizenry. Um, and that's what I think we need to start looking at is how these policies get into place, how we develop them, and I think we as an electorate have to do better about knowing what questions to ask. Um, I'm working on a piece just about that. I'll send it over to you in a minute, let you look through it, but just on the questions that voters should ask of their politicians. I'm not saying agree with me. No matter who it is, ask them the questions, and if you get a satisfactory answer, that's the guy you should vote for.
I don't think people realize how important it is to ask asking the questions we ask is oftentimes far more important than the answers,
Yeah.
because it prioritizes the debate. It sets the arena of ideas. Asking the right questions is everything. That's one of the things. I mean, this is a little bit off topic, but that's what frustrates me so much about the punditry, the pundit class that just kind of runs in a herd. People don't understand what the right questions are to ask in these moments. If we ask ourselves the right questions, we'll get to the better solutions faster. It's just so often we're not asking the right questions. We ask the same questions that got us to the wrong solutions in the first place, and we don't adjust.
And even if we do have people asking questions, we accept the wrong answers.
That's fair too. That's
We
fair
we
too.
accept the idea that like, oh well, I'm glad you asked that question, and then they run around it. And if you go to our website, there's a full plan that Mike and I put together, and I think you'll really find it interesting. But in the meantime, let me tell you about this hot dog I had once in Chicago. And then you've forgotten because some guy's really good at telling you a story that you asked him about what his plan was to
Yeah.
mitigate the loss of jobs when you institute single payer health care for the people that work in the insurance industry. And that never got around to asking that question.
Yeah.
And that's not even addressed in the plan that he has online because he
No.
didn't write it and Mike didn't write it. What happened was he has a cute little thing that's put together. It's like, it's going to take us 7 years and we're going to get there eventually. But there's no addressing the municipality of it or what the local governments are going to have to do or how are we going to deal with, you know, releasing people off of employer provided health insurance, and are we going to just expand Medicaid for the first 2 years and then get, there's never any sort of, and then just the idea of single payer tax care, single payer health care to begin with could have 12 different meanings for people. Like
Yeah.
nobody, there's
Yeah.
no, there's no real identifier for what he's talking about. Sorry, I took a lot of offense to Tom Steyer even being a serious candidate in the governor's race.
Yeah.
I thought without question Katie Porter was the most progressive candidate that had a track record of being progressive. Um, and the fact that she was just discarded so quickly because people didn't like her because she was a little bit mean is crazy. Um, so that was my problem
What do you
with
think?
Tom.
What do you think she does next? By the way, I personally, as it may sound strange, I really like Katie Porter. I like
I
her.
think I think she's fantastic.
We've had a number of really great conversations, and she is edgy and she is pushing. I don't think that's a bad quality. I kind of like that in this business. And I mean, the smartest of the bunch for sure.
Not it's not even close.
It's
And
not
look,
close. And convicted. You know, she's principled for sure. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. And now the Steyer gang is kind of beating up on her because they're saying if you would have dropped out, we could have beaten Becerra. And I don't know. I don't know what she does next. She's teaching. She's going to teach law at Irvine still. I'm going to be teaching in the fall at Irvine. I'm going to go down to Southern California, teach at USC on I think Thursdays and UC Irvine on Mondays. So you got to come out for a class and guest lecture for a class.
I
But
would
I'm gonna have to
be
take her to
honored.
lunch. I'm gonna have to take her to lunch or dinner. Maybe when you're out, we'll do it. Well, the three of us, we'll go sit down.
Listen, she is a talented lawmaker. She should be in she should be in politics.
Yeah.
Um, I hate that this isn't her moment, but she shouldn't have dropped out. Steyer should have dropped out. Um,
I think
and if your candidate is good enough, it shouldn't have been about you shouldn't have had to spend your entire campaign attacking other people. You should have had a plan that made sense and made people want to vote for you. Because I think if he had dropped out, I think Katie Porter would have probably
I was just
been
gonna
there.
say that. I was
So
just
what are you
gonna say
talking
that.
about? She,
I was just gonna
um,
say that, Robert. That's funny you said that.
um, I he he spent an absurd amount of money. I don't know what the head to head numbers is, but I bet he outspent Porter
Oh,
50 to 1, 100 to 1.
100 to 1.
Um,
He spent $235 million so far, and there's still more reports to come in. He probably spent $250 million. I think she probably spent 7. So what is
what's
that? A lot to 1. We're not
that's
math
going to
guys.
be
30 to 1.
30 to 1. And what's the average? It's at $50 a vote. Is that what we say about rough
I don't
that?
know. Well, in
Flip the vote.
California, it's usually a lot less because it's so big.
Yeah, he spent a lot to not hit that number
He got what, 22%. So he spent $10 million per percentage
per
point.
percentage point.
That's unfathomable money. Who has $500 million to waste on campaigns? And then he keeps saying, I'm going to give away my wealth. I think between the
Do it now.
presidential. The presidential race and this race, he spent half of his fortune. He's spending it on himself, is what he's doing.
I would also venture to say that he's raising money. There's got to be a pack somewhere where he's raising money. There's too many high profile people that threw their support behind him, which I was really surprised. Like Mark Ruffalo supporting Steyer was very surprising to me. I get Jane Fonda because
He's
I
been
know,
giving money for years.
yeah. So I mean, that doesn't surprise me at all. I don't expect Jane Fonda to be a serious.
Yeah.
Nothing against Jane. I don't mean
Yeah,
this in
no,
a
I
way.
hear you. Yeah, yeah,
But she's not a lawmaker. She's a climate activist.
yeah.
I expect her to go with the guy that's been giving money to her PAC that deals with climate change. That's my expectation. I have no problem with that. And if you really think that Steyer was the best guy, I don't have a problem with you voting for Steyer. I have a problem with him being touted as the most progressive guy when all he ever did was attack other people and has no serious plan for governance, other than being a billionaire and saying that you should go with me because I'm not bought. Like, brother, you were just bought a long time ago. That's the only difference. Like, it's uh, having someone that's not answerable to anybody, including the voters, is not a good thing either.
Say that again.
Having a person that's not answerable to anyone, including the voters, isn't a good thing either.
That's exactly right. Like, when did that become the virtue?
That's Donald Trump.
That's Donald Trump. That's what
And I'm
I wrote a piece for the McClatchy paper saying what is the left doing? They're becoming the right. They're becoming the monsters they're fighting, and they think that that's the way to win. Like, I don't understand it. I just it's not a right or left thing. It's like a social phenomenon now, which does trouble me deeply. Especially from like working class people. You know, he had that logo, class trader. And I'm like, the class traders are the working class people throwing in with the billionaire. That's the class traders. Come on, guys, have a little bit more backbone. This is not a good development. A billionaire shouldn't be, I'm not going to say it should be illegal to run for office, but there should be some real breaks in everybody's thinking that goes, is this what we value as a society?
if if there were a billionaire, let's just play the what if game, right? That came out and said all the right things and had a real proposal for how it was going to make it work, I would listen.
Yeah,
But when I truly believe that your only interest in winning is to say that you have this powerful seat. And look, I won't say this may be out of pocket to say, but I feel like we're amongst friends here. Maybe, maybe not. Uh, I think over the next few years, there's going to be a lot to be said about privatization of water rights coming into LA, and I don't trust a billionaire to be in the power position that has the money to make that sort of uh, very beneficial for themselves.
there's a lot. Yeah, I mean, I just like it gets to the relatability factor. Oh, it was odd to me to go like, Becerra's taking 39,000 from Chevron. It's like you made $100 million in oil exploration yourself that you're spending on it. What are we doing? Like, I don't yeah, I just it was heartbreaking to me. I gotta tell you, I'm gonna share some vulnerabilities here. Like, as a Republican politic for a very long time, when Trump came down the escalator, I'm like, I'm out. I've had it. Go with the Lincoln Project, and I burn everything down to fight this guy. And I'm like, I'm gonna throw in with the Democrats, and I'm gonna say it straight. I don't think the Democrats are that much different than the Republicans. When you
What
throw in
institutional Democrats? No.
the well, certainly not the institutional ones, but the average Democratic voter. The How can you be a labor union that supports a billionaire that made money, or an immigrants' rights activist that supports a billionaire who made money in private prisons? He made hundreds of millions of dollars in oil exploration and coal strip mining and private prisons and his vast holdings. He still has equity positions in all of these industries. And that's just what we know about, by the way. When you're a billionaire, like you said, you don't have a checking account that has $1 billion. You have so much interest in so many things, you're complicit in
Mike,
the whole damn thing.
he doesn't know what all his investments are.
He can't. He
Um,
can't.
so you can like, he can say like, "Oh, I'm divested from whatever." You don't know, brother. Like you are invested in hedge funds and in mutual funds, where those things are designed to keep you about even if they don't. So even on a down year, you're flat. I mean, because that's how they're. You have high
Design.
yield, low yield. I mean, that's how they're designed. Uh,
Yes.
and
But see, I
it
don't
does you
blame him. I don't blame him. I
no.
blame the people casting their lots with him. I blame the working man advocate who's like, we're with that guy because he's the most progressive in the race. It's like, wait, what? What about him said? What about him even remotely smacks of understanding or relates or says he's got the interest of real working people? And to me, that's the same thing as the white evangelical Christian throwing in with Trump and saying he's the most Christian man in the race. I mean, open your eyes. He's clearly not.
Even the guy that endorsed him originally, Jerry Falwell Jr., who endorsed Trump originally, is like, nah, man, never should have done that.
I mean, look, use your eyes. It's not like I've got to convince you. It's like there's nothing about what you say you stand for or your principles that are embodied in that candidate. Nothing. And I watched these MAGA people do this willfully, blindly, cult like. And I watched the same thing happen in the California primary over the course of the last 4 or 5 months. I don't get it. Like I said, at that point, that's when my mind kind of melts down. It's like I'm not smart enough to understand this stuff. I don't get
I,
it.
I don't think that's the problem, Mike. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. We have an electorate that has been so programmed to be told who is what, right? It's
Yeah.
not, and this isn't even the electorate's fault necessarily. You and I are policy nerds, right? Like we are going to go out and we want to look at, we want to know. I want to know what your real plan is. I want to know what your real politics are. I can like a human being as a person and still say, nah, your plan doesn't work for me. Like I don't like this. I could like Javier Becerra as a human being and think this is a great guy, and still go, but I think Katie Porter's a better candidate for governor. Right?
Yeah.
Like you can do all of those things can be true. Politics doesn't have to be this zero sum game of like I not going to vote for this person, so I hate them. Like kind
Right.
of thing that we've
Right.
turned it into.
Yes.
Uh, and that's where we are now, where it's even on the left. If I support Katie Porter, all of a sudden that means that I hate a Becerra supporter or that I don't like Becerra. It's like I think that they both have good. They both have
Good and
have good
bad. Yeah.
qualities and traits. I just prefer this candidate's. I like her track record, whatever the hell it is. Um, we have this idea that you can't talk about the negatives of the person you support. Like I can tell you that there are things about Katie that aren't my favorite, but overall I think she's a better candidate. We don't have those sort of honest conversations anymore. It's all I have to be 100% on board with this candidate and I have to support them into the ground or then I look foolish because this person that I have no control over has done something suddenly that I disagree with. I think you can also change your mind halfway through a thing if that person does something that you don't like.
Right.
And another candidate really turns it on for you. I think you should be able to do that. Uh, but I think that voters need to do a better job of asking the questions and knowing what they're voting for. Otherwise, they're going to get caught up in this thing of, oh, a celebrity said that they endorse this person. I like that celebrity because of what I know about them on the internet. And so I'm going to cast my lot with this candidate, sight unseen, because I don't want to do any of the research. We just don't demand enough of our politicians. And we allow people that don't really have a lot of business or space projecting these political opinions that I don't want to say that they shouldn't, because everyone's entitled to their political opinion. But if you're not really breaking down the policy structure and you have a big platform and you don't really understand why a candidate is the way, be the responsible person that doesn't that doesn't make an irresponsible statement that is going to impact voters in a way that is you can't change that. You can't go back on that. You've said the thing, and now all these other people are in bed with you. Like if that guy goes in the shitter, we're all going down behind you because we trusted your judgment when you didn't really have a position or an authority on the subject to make that sort of statement to begin with. And I will tell people all day long, don't just listen to what I have to say. Like you shouldn't trust me blindly either. You should
Right.
take real information and go look at it and ask the questions yourself and go find those answers. And that's why I don't endorse candidates wholly. I don't say that this is the person you should, except for Hallie Schaffner versus Tom Cotton. I will endorse Hallie Schaffner all day long. But especially in cities where I don't have if it doesn't affect me directly, I will break down policy and I will say that this person doesn't have that. I'm not telling you who to go vote for. I'm just trying to give them the correct, like as much information as I can. Um, that's why I think endorsements are crazy sometimes, but I I do think there's this irresponsibility amongst people that have a platform. They feel they have to weigh in on things, even if they don't fully understand them, and they don't fully understand the weight of what they're saying, uh, because it does impact people. It does impact union guys that say, "Oh, well, then this must be the guy we're supposed to vote for," and they don't think through the idea that this is a billionaire who has beaten unions time after time whenever it benefited him. uh, he's not a guy that's out there like trying to get people the best dollar he can when they're doing work for him. But now in a presidential candidate, let's talk about how important unions are. Because I don't really think he understands it, if I'm being honest.
No, I agree with you.
Uh, so anyway, that's my 2 cents about that. I just find it very, very disheartening. One that I don't think it's a misunderstanding of the voter. I think it's a mis I think it's just years of an electorate that has had that responsibility taken away from them. It's not their own doing. Years of media has taken that responsibility away from the voter, and has
And gazillions of dollars manipulating and setting the frame that way too.
yeah, well,
Habituating people to think about politics that way. I'm going to ask you. You still got a little bit of time here.
got all the time in the world. Kids are in bed.
What if this is a sincere question because I have not really followed this very closely. Graham Plattner in Maine. How's he doing right now? The election's tonight. Does
I
anybody
think he'll.
know?
Yeah, he's. I don't know how he's doing it. I mean, the polls have been
He's
good
doing.
for him.
Yeah, but is the question like how well he does?
I think it'll be a turnout issue. I think he'll win tonight. Like I think he'll take it tonight.
Is he wounded or does nobody care?
It depends on how many people in Maine care.
Yeah.
Um, I think there's a lot of opinions nationally that I don't know they'll translate to Maine, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, no, that's what I want to know. I'm not following it at all.
I think people in Maine don't want Susan Collins.
They're just done with her now.
Um, and
I spent $12 million against her last time she ran. And we thought we had her.
I think she's done nothing for them. I think that there is this feeling of whatever the oppo is against Plattner. I would say that a lot of it feels to Mainers especially, but I think to some of the people that are still supporting him, the oppo on him feels targeted, like it feels like oppo. It doesn't feel like organically developing stories. It feels like oppo. And I
Right.
think that as crazy as this is going to sound, while we have a while voters have lost touch with real governance and what policy should look like, they're far more versed in what oppo looks like and what a targeted attack looks like. And oh, this feels awfully convenient timing and stuff. So
I think that's
I think
right.
there's some of that.
I think that happened in California with Steyer, by the way.
Yeah, I mean
People weren't
people aren't
buying it.
stupid.
They're just like
Yeah.
whatever.
Um, you you're gonna have a hard time attacking a man to saying that he's not that he's that he's paying content creators and not uh, and not oh my gosh saying it like he's not
Disclosing it.
disclosing it when that's what you're actually doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I mean that's crazy. So I think that I think he'll win. I think that he does have some hurdles if they continue down this thing. The New York Times article was not a little it was very misleading in the way that the headline was written, and then I read the whole article. It essentially ends with them saying most of the people that we talked to didn't have any problem with their relationship with Plattner.
That's what I
Three
thought was
women.
weird. Like I didn't read it, but I listened to the daily because I'm like, I need to get caught up on what's happening. And then all of it, the reporter was saying like nobody was really saying anything, you know. And I was like, well, what are we doing here? And I don't mean to dismiss it. I'm not educated enough to know. And honestly, like, I think I'm just so damn tired right now. Like, I can't process it all. I'm just trying to understand. And it's like, it sounds like there's pushing to be a story. Like you said, it sounds like Oppo. It's like, it sounds like there's pushing to be a story. I'm not saying there isn't one. I'm saying I don't know what it is yet.
The story they're trying to if it's Oppo, and I think it is, they're trying to make him they're trying to put him in bed with Swalwell. They're trying to make him the
Ah,
same thing as Swalwell. And I think you can take womanizing and not being a very good boyfriend over a number of years. And two of the three women that said that he wasn't a great boyfriend said that that happened during times where he's already said, I was doing a lot of drinking and I was undiagnosed PTSD and I was struggling and I was a bad person then. And then I got help and I'm worked through those demons. And they've even agreed, like, yes, the way he treated me was very, was very on target with what he's saying he was during, like, that's correct. And this one person that is a GOP uh, consultant now, oddly enough, says that um, he wasn't abusively physical, but there were times when he would drink, and that she remembers maybe once he grabbed her by the shoulders, and that it scared her. And look, I am not. If he
yeah,
did,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not. But that's it's her own words are a little shaky on what the details are. Uh, and of the other 12 people, they were like, he was a great boyfriend, a lot of fun to be around, drank a little too much occasionally, whatever. I think they're trying to make a story that maybe we should listen to. I mean, if he's texting women that he's married, and so he's texting these dozen women, like they're not really specific on what they are. He says it didn't happen. This former campaign manager says that his wife turned this stuff, like showed it to her, which I think would be weird if your wife's like, hey, campaign manager, what about this stuff? Like, if it's not asked about, I don't know. And now, so I mean, it's kind of a he said, she said. There's not a lot of proof. There's not a lot of people coming forward. They weren't staffers or anything, so there wasn't any sort of like authority wave beneath it. And I will say this: if it is a if if something like a man being unfaithful to his wife or being in situation is a non-starter for you, then don't vote for Graham Plattner. Like I'm not. I think that you should follow your moral compass on that, and I'm not trying to make a case for or against it. Uh, if if you think that two consenting adults can do what two consenting adults want to do, that's a different story. Uh, I think that the tattoo thing didn't take the direction that they wanted it to because, when you undergo military evaluations and stuff, if you have that, like they would note that immediately. I think he got drunk in Eastern Europe and saw a tattoo on a wall and was like, "That looks like a skull and crossbones. I'll have that." I don't know. I mean, it was a German symbol for hundreds of years before it was a Nazi symbol. I mean, I'm not trying to. Listening to him talk about it, I don't think that he knew it was a white supremacist thing.
Have you met him?
I have not met him personally. I've spoken with him on some conference call stuff. So it's I know some people that know him very well. I'll say that. I know some people that I trust that know him very well.
She does not seem well.
Collins,
Yeah,
she's got Parkinson's. She's not well.
but it seems like very advanced. It's not like
Yeah. I don't think she's got a term left in her.
I
Um,
don't. I mean, she does not look good. She can't. I mean, Parkinson's once it starts to pick up, it consumes you, and she's past that point.
Especially at her age, and I'm not.
No, I know.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Is
I mean,
like
Michael
listen to
J.
her
Fox
response.
is.
Listen to her response. It's like it's bad, bad.
Um,
It's not nominal. It's bad.
I think it's off the cliff now. To be honest, like I think
Yeah.
the next couple of years will be. And to be honest with you, she's really doing a disservice to herself and to her constituency by not allowing
Hand over
another
the
person
baton.
to run.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, because if I'm being honest, I think that a well placed Republican in that would beat him.
You do.
Mhm.
I don't know Maine as that well. I know it's very kind of a unique place. I do know that it's a unique culture. I guess every place kind of is.
I think if
I
there
would
were a
want.
reason for people not to, and look, I think Graham's got some good ideas. To be honest with you, I mean, I've read through his policy program and like what he. I mean, he's good. I mean, his ideas are good on paper. I don't know who helped him with his policy, but it's good. I mean, he didn't write it himself. I don't want to say he didn't write it himself. He's got to consult somewhere. He's got a policy consultant that's helping him with it because that is not the brain of someone that hasn't worked in politics.
Right.
It's
That's
very
okay.
sharp. Uh,
What about Nancy Mace? She's in fifth.
she probably advances.
No, she's in fifth place. She's in last place, I think, isn't
Is
she?
she really?
Yeah, somebody give us an update if you don't mind. I think
Oh
she's
my
in last. I think
gosh!
she's in last. But see,
Great.
they're kind of like the Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace, Massey. Like that was that crew, right?
Yeah,
Who's the last? Who is Bobert? And then was that the last of her? Or there's Luna? Luna wasn't part of
Bobert's
that.
got it. Uh, I want an update. I haven't looked at anything since we sat down.
Yeah, she lost, dude. I think she was like in last. I think
God,
she
I'm
got
so glad. I
smoked.
can't stand that woman.
She's not
Uh,
okay either.
no,
She's suffering with something that she needs help with.
help me understand something. Women in the Republican Party at this point. Is it?
What? Yeah, go ahead.
I don't understand it.
Honestly, Latinos. I mean, gays. I mean, I don't know, and I mean, I know. There's a lot of people. It's tough. It's tough to have these conversations with audiences that are kind of left of center because they get very judgy. When I will say the party is very different than it was, you know. It is. It's just a very different place, and it really came home to me again with these 8 Republicans, 8 conservatives over in Europe over the last week. It reminded me. There were, by the way, there were four of us were arguing that Trump betrayed conservatism, and four were arguing that he's the natural heir to it. But it was a very cordial conversation. I'm going somewhere with this. Sorry about the wind
Sure,
up,
yeah.
but it was the first time that I, in probably a good decade, where there was this kind of understanding that we come from the same branches, the same tree, and that we are, I think, irrevocably split. That there is not going to be a reckoning, and that provided both some clarity and some further distance, if that makes sense. Because I will, like, people go, oh, do you want to, fix the Republican Party? What comes next after Trump? I don't want to work with anybody who is complicit in this, which is 99% of them. I have no interest in working in coalition with anybody. So it's like women, white women have consistently grown their share of support for Trump. Do you remember that? Hillary Clinton got the highest, the lowest share. It got better. Trump got stronger under Biden and got stronger with Kamala. Um, so there's a lot of sort of academic, I think, understanding of why that is, and women in conservative politics, their kind of hierarchy, recognizing that they're um, secondary to men, but that also puts them in second on top of everybody else. There's a hierarchy that they're trying to preserve. I don't know. I don't know. What I will say is I do, and again, this I'm probably going to upset a lot of people by saying this. In the early '90s, when Dianne Feinstein and Barbara Boxer were elected to the Senate in the year of the woman, 1992, first time a state sent 2 women to the Senate, we were anticipating this heralding of a new era of a more compassionate, rational, reasonable politics as more women would get into office. I think that the exact opposite has happened. And go ahead and throw whatever you want at me, people. You have it at me. And the evidence is pretty overwhelming, and it's not just on the right. Like, it's on the left, and it has not become this. Oh, we work better together, and government. I remember all these women. There's more women in Europe and these coalition governments, and I was like, okay, that's great. We need that. The more there have more women, and I'm not saying that they're necessarily correlate, but I'm also not saying that they're necessarily aren't. I'm saying that women are no different than men. They are truly equal to men. They're just as problematic. And I don't think that more women has made our politics more more um reasonable. I don't know that it's made it less. But I will tell you, I think our politics are worse now than at any time in my lifetime, and probably within the last 50, 70 years. And there are more women in elected office. And I'm not saying that they're correlate, but when I look at the right, a lot of these voices, not all of them, but a lot of these voices out there on the right are the Nancy Maces, are the Marjorie Taylor Greens, they are the Lauren Boeberts, they are the Lunas. They're out there. And I could say the exact same thing on the left. They're not necessarily the moderate voices. When we talk about the moderate voices, I think as much, maybe even more often, we're talking about men.
I don't know that there's a moderate voice on the right. Full stop.
I'm fair. I agree with you.
I think that there are. I think the problem that women run into in politics is having to reframe their voice to be heard. Uh, a lot of times, I think if you look at Senator Warren or even AOC or Ilhan, um, you those women are vilified before they ever make a vote, before they ever have a policy stance, and are put on their heels in a way that they have to almost defend their right to be in position or right to be in office from the word go. I don't envy them. Like, I would hate to be in that spot. I mean, I don't know that there are. I mean, certainly from a conservative standpoint, those women aren't moderates. Um,
I don't believe a conservative party exists.
well, that's also fair.
Yeah.
From what from a person on the right's perspective,
Yeah,
those they're certainly not moderates.
I agree. I think that I've become extremists.
But I mean, I think that Massey is the closest thing to a moderate on the right, and I don't know how. I think he's pragmatic. I don't know that he's moderate.
There you go. I agree. I
Um,
think of Don Bacon's probably the most moderate member of the House.
and that's saying something.
I know.
Um, I think that Roe is the most pragmatic on the left, but certainly not moderate. Um,
And that's saying something.
but I also don't. I also think that there's not a single politician. If you ask them, "What is your give me your campaign footprint? Like, what are the things you're looking for? Better health care, affordability. Like, they're all saying the same things. So we know that citizens want the same things, but it seems to be the breakdown in how are we going to get there and who are we willing to hurt to get there. And I think that's where the top versus bottom thing comes in. Is that are you willing to offend the donor class? Because I think that's what it comes down to. Because people with 6 million plus in net worth are going to they're not going to suffer. It's not going to hurt them, but they are going to get uh, they their fortune is going to flip a little bit. They are going to see a less beneficial style of governance to them than the rest of the country sees for a little while. Um, but let's be honest, they've had a windfall for a generation and a half or two. So I, I think it's when we start to see politicians willing to stand up in mass to that donor class is when we'll start to say these are moderates, even though they're asking for the same things. It's just that they are finding a way for it to work for the majority of the population.
Pragmatism.
Pragmatism, but we'll call it moderates. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think moderate is yeah, I think that term look, I don't believe we really have conservatives anymore. So you really can't have moderate, certainly not on the Republican side. I don't know how many moderates there are in the Democratic Party. I mean, I'm actually going to have Adam Gray, Congressman Gray, who would self-describe as a moderate, probably the most moderate member of the House of both parties, on Substack next week.
oh, let me know. I want to watch.
Yeah, yeah, I'll let you know. He was a very moderate member here of the legislature. I've known him since we were young staffers together. He's in the Central Valley. And he stands up openly and says, "Look, I'm a moderate. I want to work cross party lines where I can. I don't think there's Republicans. I think the Republican Party is so far so unmoored. There's nothing to work with anymore. Like I said, it's just not a serious governing party. There's no real policy ideas to work on. So
Yeah,
you-
I don't.
so it's kind of like when Roe works with Massey, it's on the Epstein files, right?
Yeah,
It's not like on a policy framework for taxes or health or water policy or it's like Epstein files. Um,
well, even the 8 senators that were willing to work with Democrats on getting those aren't moderate Republicans. They're just not willing to go as far to the right as their their coworkers.
yeah,
And I think that's we talk about them like they're saviors or so. Like, oh, look at these. Well, look at these do-gooders. No, they're just not willing to sell their souls for that price. Like it's uh, and maybe I'm too hard on a lot. I just don't think that there's a conservative value left in politics, not in any real way. I know that you just
Agreed.
got done debating, but I've said for a long time that I contend there's no conservative values left in politics. I think that I think that that left with Reagan. And look, I'm not a huge fan of Reagan. I think I think that there were a lot of things that I think he tried. I think he just didn't get it across. I think that there were some stops that should have been put on before he ever got out of office. But I think greed, and once you open Pandora's box, you can't ever put it back together. And I think that's what happened in the Reagan years is that we tried some economic uh, uh, wild cards that made a lot of people a lot of money, and they weren't willing to put the brakes back on once we came out of uh, that recession in the late '70s. I just think they weren't ready. They weren't willing to put it back together um, because of greed. I think that, uh, but I think that conservatism, what I would call post-war fusionism, and you and I can talk about that later, but uh, was leaning more toward a cultural conservatism than it was from a policy or like an economic or even a political conservatism uh, with Reagan. And I just think that once the '90s hit and the GOP decided that they had to lean so heavily on the cultural idea of like it was lost. It was just over.
Agreed.
Um,
Yeah, that
but
became the animating feature until it tipped into just straight Christian white Christian nationalism. Which by the way, that was kind of what Professor Alan Lichtman's argument was at Oxford. It was really funny because the people arguing against the proposition that basically he was arguing, he argues, I think I was sharing this with you in this book, Conservative to the Core. He argues that that is the only consistent thing to conservatism. The pursuit of private enterprise, not free enterprise, he would argue, private enterprise and white Christian nationalism. Everything else he would say is fungible. Everything else.
my argument, like I told you, would always just be that you can call it whatever you want to, but it's
Yeah,
not conservatism. I
that's
mean,
right. Yeah.
um, it's like we were talking about. You said I'm looking for good. I said I think Theodosius's boat is the best method. It's like you can replace all the parts. It looks the same, but it's not the same boat. You can call it whatever you want to. Uh, it's so just because that's what they started calling it in the '50s is this is anti-con. Once you start tacking these other things onto the conservative movement, once you remove the things from the top, it's not conservatism. Uh,
That was yes, I'm with you on that. It's just
uh,
I think it's an incomplete understanding, and maybe that's being generous of what conservatism is. Alan Lichtman's he's a progressive. I mean, he's a liberal. He doesn't like conservatives.
sure.
So it was funny to see it was a true argumentation format where he was with Michael Knowles, right, and guys from these right wing think tanks, and they were kind of like applauding him, going, I don't know why we're agreeing with him, but really hate the way that he got there.
If
you know,
nothing in this world shows you that they are on a sports team, then them championing this man for just agreeing with them that Trump is a conservative, no matter how they got there, then that should do it. You have
fair.
abandoned your entire core belief system just because this man has the same destination that you do.
That's exactly right.
You've abandoned it.
Abandoned it. Well, betrayed it. I would argue. Oh, the only question I'm definitely abandoned it. The question is, was it betrayed? And the betrayal requires you having some fidelity to it in the first place. that was the toughest part of the betrayal piece. Is like, did he ever believe anything? Does Trump ever believe? Does he believe in anything? Which, as you know, you saw my arguments. That's what I was arguing. Is there's no philosophical underpinning to this man, none. So
For
how go ahead?
Knowles now has to say that he believes that Trump is conservative because all conservatism is Christian nationalism. I read parts of the book, Conservative to the Core, and listened to the rest of it on audio so that I could have a good, firm understanding of this man.
Yeah,
And that's when I sent you the text. Like Knowles is going to have to
yeah.
completely abandon his belief system.
Noel said policy does not define conservatism.
Then conservatism is Christianity, and that's the end of it.
That was kind of where they were going.
Because Edmund Burke would have said Barry Goldwater would have been the first person to introduce Christianity into conservatism. And I think even and look, Barry Goldwater's a dick. Like there is no love lost, right? Like
Yeah,
it's but I don't even think he would have put Christian nationalism as high on that list of conservative value as Knowles is trying to.
Goldwater didn't like the Christian conservatives.
Right? I mean,
He didn't like them.
he agreed that it was part of the movement.
Well, yeah, but so did Buckley.
That's true.
Buckley didn't like him either. They've
Uh,
always been tolerated.
now they're the now they're
Now
in.
they've consumed it. That's what
Uh,
happens when you
Edmund Burke
tolerate.
would have said that there was no room for it in conservative politics. That's a beaut. I'm jealous.
It came today. This is
Uh,
I was sharing this with Robert. I'll share with all of you. This is a 1790 edition of Reflections on the French Revolution by Edmund Burke. I found it at an antiquarian bookshop in London, and I bought it for myself as a gift. It's Edmund Burke, straight Edmund Burke, and it has notes in this. You'll love this, Robert. Penciled notes from both 1790 from its original publication date, and whoever else owned it in 1814, comparing Burke to Thomas Paine. The notes were compared. So I haven't read them yet, but whoever was reading this in the
that
early
had to have
18,
been that would have had to have been a textbook. Yeah.
as somebody was taking notes in the columns in the early 1800s and was mentally just writing. Well, it's gonna be great to see the notes of previous owners of this thing. This has never left England. Here it is in Sacramento
I
today, first day in the United States.
I would love to hear an English person's argument on Burke and the comparison to Thomas Paine.
I
Because
would, yeah,
an
go tell
English
some more.
person in the 1790s is going to look at Paine as not a good person, not going to like it.
Yes, right.
You're-
Fascinating, right?
And interesting, though, because they would have been pro Burke, kind of.
Keep going.
So either that person is a bit of a firebrand and like an anarchist, like pro democracy, anti monarch. So that
So
book might have been in some very
interesting hands.
interesting hands. Also in some very cool places where some big ideas about like some probably Masonic, I would say.
Interesting. Maybe I'll look for the notes. If I see anything really fascinating, I'll send you some pictures of it.
That
But
is an incredible find. I
that's the
was
argument. That was the argument I made at Oxford, which is Burke is writing this book at a time of extraordinary societal change when institution is collapsing, not unlike this moment. The
Mhm.
American colonists are trying to build a new architecture to expand individual liberty, and the French are tearing down all the institutions of generations that they've built everything on. And Burke is trying to reconcile these two. How do we build an architecture to expand liberty while also not destroying all of the human wisdom that created all of these institutions that we need to pass civilization onward. That's what conservatism is.
So
That,
well, let me ask you this then: do you contend then that true Burke conservatism would save this moment?
what would they say at this moment?
I said, would do you think that true Burke conservatism would save us in this moment?
I believe so. That's what I argue. My argument was that there was no, and I will say this. I haven't seen the speech yet, but when I do, I'll post it and obviously share it to you. I think I'll get it in the next couple of weeks. Is I say every great conservative thinker since Edmund Burke warned us about this man, because Trump is fundamentally anti-institutionalist. He's anti every. I alone can fix it. He's Caesar. He's saying, even when Lichtman was arguing tariff policy, he's like, Herbert Hoover was pro-tariff. Reagan had tariffs. The argument that came from somebody on our side was, yeah, but he went to Smoot-Hawley. He got congressional approval. Everybody got congressional approval. You know who didn't? Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
He's not interested in Congress. He's not interested in our institutions. He's interested in gathering and concentrating power. That's fundamentally anti-Burkean. It's Jacobin. It's revolutionary for the sake of destruction.
I think that we have turned such a corner, and I don't share this because people don't understand that terms are malleable, and so like we've gotten into this group of like liberal versus conservative. I would say that the closest thing we have to a conservative movement would be politicians like Ro Khanna. That
I
and
think that
people are not going to be happy. He's a progressive in that he has a lot of progressive ideals and ideology, but conservatism to me is not a political affiliation.
that's correct.
It is the ideology behind why you are doing the things you're doing. So you can be a progressive, you can be a progressive politician with a lot of progressive political ideology, but also have the conservative ideologies of Birkin, which would be restraint and constitutional adherence, and that's conservatism at its core.
That's why people will say, like, how can you be a conservative and support Democrats? I'm like, how could you not be at this moment? Because the only protectors of institution is the Democratic Party. That's it. We can disagree on policy, and we should, by the way. That's the purpose of the institution. It doesn't make but once you become anti-institution, once you're willing to overthrow elections, once you're willing to attack the free press, once you're willing to take all of these concentrated powers, whether it's going to war or increase taxes and do it unilaterally, that's not conservatism. That's anti-institutional populist destruction.
I think that the Republicans have gone so far right they have left the atmosphere of American politics.
100%.
So there is no like they no longer fit into the box of American political discourse. They are gone. Uh, and probably, if I were to guess, I, I think that MAGA will be lost whenever it goes away over the next generation, half generation. And then you will have this fracturing of the Democratic Party that turns into like the Federalists and the Whigs and the Anti-Federalists and the Democratic Republics are Democratic Republicans and of like uh, Lyons and the guy from Vermont, the true early Federalists and the mismatched sort of all these different parties of the anti-federalists or the Democratic Republicans. Thomas Jefferson was a Democratic Republican, uh, very anti-federalist. Madison was a Federalist, which is crazy how much they agreed and then disagreed about certain things. Anyway, that's that. I think that that will be the next sort of break. Was it will have this sort of more progressive. I hate using the term conservative as a negative thing because I think it's in its traditional and original sense, it was a quality that was necessary post revolution. Uh, and I think if you take the cultural stuff out of it, you just look at it strictly from a political and economic standpoint, it has a really great place for understanding restraint and allowing for progressive ideals, but using the restraint and constitutional adherence to kind of make sure that they don't get whatever MAGA's become. I think that that is why I would never argue that. I mean, I understand what uh, conservative of the court. What's his last name?
Lichtman.
Ligman. I understand what he's saying there, and I agree that that is what they are now calling conservatism. But
Correct.
I would say that that is not what conservatism was
100%. He
supposed to
he
be.
he cherry picks the terms, and he also cherry picks the time frames.
Yeah.
And it's like that's not a. I don't think it's a. I think it's a novel argument. I don't think it's a particularly sound one. He gets a little squirrely at the end of the debate. I think you're going to find it interesting. But they said that there was a young first year Oxford kid met me at the train station, and we were walking into town. It's a short walk. I don't know if you've ever been there. I'd love to go there with you, man. We'd have
Oh,
a
we're
great time.
going. We're
Yeah,
going.
we need to set a plan and do some bookshops because I mean there's like books from Malthus there and Bacon and just like it's just ridiculous. It's like being in a candy store. But this kid, I kind of asked him at the end. I was like, so look, I mean, we didn't do a whole lot of prep. I didn't really know who was going to be on my debate team until I got there, and we'd never talked beforehand. We just kind of met like literally at this little president's cocktail hour, and then we're going to debate in like 40 minutes, or have they do a big formal dinner beforehand, and then the debate. But I was kind of needling him for like some like I'm like how is this going to work, and what would you advise? Trying to get some inside scoop from the young kid, and he says, I hope there's some Edmund Burke in there. I think they were really had low expectations from the Americans. We're all
Yeah.
Americans.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think you'll be pleased with kind of what I bring. But I will tell you, Robert, like I think every speaker went to Burke, every one of them. There's a little Buckley, there's a little, Hayek, there's um, Goldwater. It was all there, but it was really more hinted at. It was a real Burkean debate. You would have loved. You're gonna. I think you'll enjoy it.
I
I think you'll
don't
enjoy it.
think you can't argue conservatism without it being Burkean. I mean, that you just can't. Whatever it's become, post Dixiecrat,
Yeah,
whatever.
that's right. That was the moment.
Um, it's the Republican Party is not the party of Lincoln. It hasn't been since the last half. I mean,
The Dixiecrats,
yeah, since the last half of the
64.
20th century.
So,
Yeah,
so LBJ anyway, Civil Rights Act. But so let me ask you a question. Maybe we should end on this. Oh, this is a big one to end on. Do you think Lincoln was a conservative?
yeah. But I think he was a Burkean conservative. I don't think he's whatever the hell this is.
he
Uh,
he he called himself eminently conservative. And I would argue that Lincoln was a reformer in the Burkean sense to get back to the traditionalists of the Jeffersonian principles. So I think he was. I think Lichtman and these other guys would say like, honestly, I think there are strains of the Republican Party now that are saying the institution of slavery is kind of where we should be.
I think once I read a lot, right? I read everybody. I read the people I disagree with because I want to know what I disagree with. Uh, but I read a lot of stuff that what I find that I read some people like I don't know if you've read much Malcolm X.
Autobiography of
Um, some of his works, his essays and stuff. If you ever get a chance, he's a profound thinker. I think he gets a bad rap, obviously because white Christian conservatives painted him in a light. Or he said that uh, if the Constitution were written for all men, there wouldn't have to be amendments for women and slaves.
Well, that's yeah,
He's 100% correct,
yeah,
and his argument has always been that there needs to be not an amendment to the Constitution,
a
but a
new
fundamental
constitution.
change to the Constitution where it is interpreted to mean this. Like there should be no amendment about black people having a right to vote. That it should be inherently the right of all people to have that vote.
What would Burke say to that?
Uh, I think that Burke would agree with him.
I don't know.
Post,
Maybe
I think post 64. I think given the information and the change in culture, I think Burke would agree with it. Thomas Jefferson would have agreed with it.
Thomas Jefferson would have agreed with it.
Um, I
Lincoln
think
would
Thomas
agree with it.
Jefferson agreed with him originally, but needed ratification.
100%.
Also, I mean, Thomas Jefferson's a slave owner. I mean, it's hard to say that these men were great,
They were slavers.
Uh,
Yeah.
um, so I don't know. I think that Burke would have supported in his time. Obviously, he did support the ownership of slaves. Uh, but I think if you talk to the same man after the Cultural Revolution,
Hmm.
he would have agreed with Malcolm X.
That would have been a great conversation to have. A great
Uh,
dinner. Edmund Burke and Malcolm X at dinner. Did you
uh,
have you read Malcolm X's speech at Oxford Union
mhm.
in
Oh yeah,
defense of extremism?
yeah. Uh, I think
All self-educated. Malcolm X,
brilliant man. Some people just
brilliant,
get it. Some people
brilliant.
just get it. Um, I think that there's a lot to be. I think the brilliant minds. You don't have to agree with 100%. I think like you'll always find like, oh, there's no one that we'll agree with 100%. I think that's why we have this continuation of philosophy. And, the next line of thinkers comes along, and we try to improve upon the down. I mean, I think Nietzsche is great, but I think Nietzsche fell short a bunch, in the way he viewed socialism and society and all of that. I think he fell short there. It doesn't mean we should reject what he got right. Uh, Montesquieu is the same way. Brilliant in regards to the way governance theory should work, but a fool in regards to he bought into the climate theory of people from warmer climates not being as smart as people from cooler climates. Like, I mean,
That was a part of that time, though.
yeah,
Malthus and Montesquieu. I mean, even Darwin, right? Like, I mean, that's a further out, but there's this understanding of science, like, and these hypotheses that they were testing. It seemed to kind of make sense, I guess, at the time, early on.
sure. And again, that is, I think you're a product of the culture of the time, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think that 100 years from now, people will look back even on the things that you and I say and say, well, not that I'm thinking that people are going to look back and think that
They'll be
what I
they
have
will
to
be on
say,
they will
but
be on your Substack reading watching this.
but I think we will get things wrong.
Yeah. That's the
Uh,
point, though. That's the point.
the idea of progression is that we progress. You know, we try to be better every generation or every group. You try to improve upon it. It's much in this way that we don't look at Barack Obama as a progressive leader now, kind
I
of
know.
middle of the
Right.
road Democrat. At the 15 years ago, though,
Wasn't that long ago.
um, so I think that's good though. I think that's what you want to do is you want to progress in a way that we're pushing the ball down the field uh, toward better. You know, I think MAGA has us in a situation right now where they are doing the exact opposite of what Burke would 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 stand up and say. I think this is the extremism that he warned against. It's just coming. They're using his ideology against it.
That's what I argued, literally. I mean,
Uh,
that's what I think Burke was saying in the French Revolution early on. He's like, this is destruction for the sake of destruction. That's what Trump is. It's what Spencer Pratt is. It's easy to look at and just say tear it down. It's all a mess. It's awful. It's horrible. These are bad people, and it's like there are problems. There are big problems, no question. But conservatism says you look at why the fence was built before you tear it down. Let's come to some understanding of what this wisdom was and what it means, where it went wrong, and let's figure that out. You don't just go throw it out because you throw it out. And that's where I guess maybe I'm debating in my own mind what if Burke would agree with Malcolm X or not. I don't know. If Malcolm X is saying that the Constitution is the fruit of the poisoned tree and the tree is poisoned, I understand that school of thought. I do. I know that it has a home in our society today. I don't I don't agree with it. I'm not saying I'm not saying I can't be convinced, by the way. I can be more convinced now than I could have as a young man thinking about these things. I'm more convinced. I want to hear more, but I do. But I'm not there yet. Maybe I won't. Maybe I will get there. Maybe I won't. But what I do believe is that look, the Catholic Church, Pope Leo, just 2 weeks ago apologized for slavery. The church, my school, Georgetown, survived economically by trading slaves. The Catholic Church. So, yeah, I mean, the framework, the contextualization of how we look at history and understand it, it's not entirely fair or appropriate to look at it through our current contextual lens and say this was morally right and this was morally wrong.
I love James Madison. I think he's one of the brilliant minds. And it took James Madison and his whatever his neurodivergence was to keep the notes that he did is the reason that we know so much.
Yeah.
Uh, but I mean, there's no secret about the fact that the idea of amendments exists because he didn't want to go through another constitutional convention. He's like, we'll never survive it. He said the union wouldn't survive it.
He's probably right.
I know he's right.
Yeah.
Uh, but Jefferson,
So let's start over. Let's do this every 20 years.
it's like every 19 years, let's rewrite this thing. Let's
Yeah,
do it
yeah.
again.
Let's do it again. Every
And
generation.
and James and Madison was like, "You're not here, brother. You're in France.
Yeah. You're not doing the hard work.
I'm here every day. They're sending people in. Like, I also think it's very funny that it wasn't the same group of people like sweating, and it's just James Madison every day,
Yeah.
and then different delegations from different states coming in arguing. I really wish more people would dive into the Constitutional Convention and like what it was really like. Should make a Netflix series about
Or a
James
good
Madison.
Ken Burns documentary.
Yeah. But I think that there was this idea early on that it was just paper, right? It is the core values they'll always abide. We should adapt to to changing things. They should change. Every generation should get their own set of laws. And I think a lot of that was probably Jefferson's idea of like knowing that slavery was on the way out and that this was not a a pro a thing that we should continue doing, and that we should be ready to write this thing the way it should be written. And Madison wrote Jefferson was a big part of it, but to understand that they to them it was just a piece of paper, and it can be done again. We just did it. We just got rid of the Articles of Confederation. Here's the new thing. And it was just so hard to get it ratified the first time that we're not
Brutal,
doing it again.
brutal.
And Madison's right. The Union would fall apart. You would.
Yeah,
I don't think you could have ratified it again in 19 years. The the Union changed so much in 19 years. The idea of politics changed so much in that time that to sit down for ratification, you would have had a split. You would have lost the Union 20 years in. Um, and so I think the paper has kept it together. Um, I don't know. I think we're at a point where we should be interpreting things differently. I think um, the idea that anybody was ever considered less than that exists on this earth is a travesty that should be rectified. I think this would be my only point. And if that is language in the Constitution, better than an amendment, I think is unless it's an unchangeable amendment. It's one that like, hey, we're adding this. There can never be an amendment to undo it.
but isn't that the beauty of the Declaration?
Probably.
I mean, that's the great gift that Jefferson. To me, I always keep going looking as flawed as that dude was. I think he was like, you know what? To your point, he knew it was going to end, and he gave us this incredible aspirational document. That's what keeps the arc of progress going. Is that document? That's what always fuels us to forever be better because it's so universally declarative. All men, meaning human beings, are endowed by our creator with certain inalienable rights. That is so expansive, it will forever be expansive. That's where I push back on Malcolm X. That's not the Constitution, of course. They are two very different documents, incidentally. Very different documents. And they go hand in glove. But I don't know. I mean, you can't say the Constitution's the fruit is the poison tree because 10 years before that we had this declaration which made us a nation. That's what made America America. That's when we became 250 years in a month, just shy of a month, 250 years ago on that day, we became a country. 10, 12 years after that, after we have a failed confederacy, we create this new constitution. But the DNA, the spark, the origin story, the moment of conception of America is that Jeffersonian document where we declare what we're doing. And I mean, slaver that he was, I think he knew what he was doing. He's like, this ain't gonna last forever. This peculiar institution, as he called it, or they called it. He was saying this is what we should always aspire to be. And as long as we're aspirational towards this universal declaration, that's what keeps hope for the next generation going because it keeps getting bigger.
I agree with you, but I think it's easier for me to agree with you from
Yeah.
um, my socioeconomic
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
Whereas if you take a Baldwin or a Malcolm X,
100%.
and they have grown up in this oppressed socioeconomic status, in this marginalized group that has Langston Hughes wrote that America was never for me. And that's the sentiment that you're talking about red line districts and, at the time, separate segregation down to the fountain that you could drink water out of and the restaurant you could eat at. Um, it is it's also very easy to understand the idea that that group of people felt like America was not created for them. It was created on top of them. And that the amendments and the things listed there um, were lip service for a generation of chattel slavery. Uh, and that they, Reconstruction started down the right path, and we had black men in the Senate. We had governor of New Orleans, or the governor of Louisiana, and then white people didn't like it, and they started the Klan uh, to intimidate voters and to keep this. I mean, I get where we come from, and that we have this idea of like, I romanticize the founders, not because they were good people, but because they were brilliant thinkers. But I see where, I mean, I've read enough Malcolm X and Baldwin and uh, Hughes and
Thanks and Hughes, yeah.
to know that there was a different sentiment. I don't understand it in the way that someone else. My understanding is all academic. It's certainly not lived experience, but I get it. I can understand that thought process, and that's why I think that Burke would agree in that time frame with there being a fundamental change needed.
Well, you got to remember, my people were a conquered people here too.
Yeah, I know.
We we, we,
Yeah,
we, we were not enslaved, but we were
yeah.
conquered. We had our land taken. But your point is exactly right. So let me ask one other question, because I agree with you 1,000%, and especially when you read Langston Hughes. And boy, if you, I'm sure you have many times, as I have, watched Baldwin debating Buckley at Cambridge. Oh,
Oh,
it's
it should be
just
required watch
that should
for.
be every American, every human being should watch that. Just brilliance. Um, what would Malcolm X's declaration be?
I don't think it would change the Declaration.
That matters. That matters.
Uh, I think the Constitution. Uh, I think that he would argue that the Constitution should have freed should have freed all enslaved persons.
If it were true to the Declaration, it would
Yeah,
have.
yeah. Upon signature. Um, and look, I wrestle with some thoughts that I have, and these are strictly. I think if Jefferson were in country and not in France, that there might have been a bigger push toward uh, that. I think he knew that it wouldn't ratify in the southern states, and they would have a split union uh, if they outlawed uh, slavery uh, outright. I mean, it's in the notes. They talked about it. It's not like this was something they danced around. They knew that it would cause they would lose ratification. And for anyone that wants to argue with me, I have a book that you can read on
No,
it.
I buy it, man, 100%.
Uh,
Jefferson was probably like, I need to get out of country.
I
No,
would. He he showed up at the end. I mean, it. So I would say that the
he
conversation
reminds
was.
me of Voltaire, a little bit of Voltaire in him, where he understood the game as much as everybody else, and he was playing a different game. He knew what was possible and what wasn't, and what he was able to get out of it. He had to do by tricking everybody and letting them catch up with it years later.
I I don't think that. I think that Malcolm would have. He would have. I think he would have agreed with the Declaration, and I think he would say that the Declaration freed all men, uh, because it very clearly does. Um, I think the Constitution is where they allowed language to be put in, which would allow for the continuation of uh, legal chattel slavery in the United States, specifically in the southern United States, for ratification of the Union. I mean, um, that just is what it is. Uh, it is a hard truth to swallow, uh, because we do think of these thinkers as being brilliant
Put them
and
on a
above
pedestal as they're
that.
perfect. Yeah.
Uh, I know they're not perfect. You and I both know. I mean, we wrestle with that because we applaud so much their theory, their political theory, and their governance theory, and just creating this thing which I think people take for granted that every system of democracy that came after the United States is based on our system of democracy.
Right.
No matter how it changes a little bit or it goes to parliamentary um, parties and it's all based on a tricameral seat of government. It's all this. It's just slightly altered because we think this would work better. This works, but it's all based on this experimental idea of democracy that we have here in the United States. Um, these guys were not stupid. They, if we had the sense, like you and I've talked about a bunch of times, to sort of improve upon our own issues that we seem to have as our culture evolves, we would be in a lot better shape. We would certainly wouldn't be where we are now. But to your point from earlier, I think that's why we're at this point is that we will have a fundamental shift in the way we do it.
I want to show you something real quick. So you've
Yeah.
seen the Lincoln portrait, but there's
Oh,
Frederick Douglass and Thaddeus Stevens, who are really the conscience of the Republican Party, the abolitionist movement.
yeah.
Lincoln was much more much more concerned about union than he was about freeing the slaves, as you know. Um, and that that struggle between what the founders were doing and what was happening around the emancipation, I think were very similar. It got back to what are we doing here? What is this project about? Who has a seat at the table and who doesn't, and why? And I think I think you put it very eloquently. I think what Malcolm and what Langston Hughes would say were that this country was not made for me because it wasn't made for them. It wasn't. I'm
I
not too.
had,
I know. I agree with he would say, and I agree with everything you said. I think to me that's why the Declaration is so important, and that's why, like I said, that we celebrate the 4th of July more than we celebrate Constitution Day. Do we even celebrate Constitution Day? I
I
don't know.
mean, some of us, but
Some of us still have a reverence and respect
yeah,
for it.
yeah.
um, but anyway, what were you gonna say?
I had the opportunity to go to the Lincoln Memorial
Hmm.
early in the morning before anybody else was there, right?
Ah, what a great picture! Look at that.
And to stand, I've been to the Lincoln Memorial a bunch of times, but never with nobody there.
Yeah.
And so there's just a couple of us there, and to read the second inaugural address. If you've never been to the Lincoln Memorial, sorry, on one side is the Gettysburg Address, and on the other side is the second inaugural, and which is a beautiful speech from Lincoln. I mean, it's gorgeous. But to stand there in silence in that temple and read that with nothing else going on around you, just uh, it it gives you chills. I mean, there's no other way around it. It's very
Moving.
and especially in the current state of our country. And then the inscription above Lincoln, it talks about saving the Union uh, and and you realize that we are in a very similar moment. Um, and then you get very angry at the idea that the people on the right claim Lincoln as they are the party of Lincoln, and they are just it's a very strange place. Like uh, there's a juxtaposition there that is just hard to kind of wrap your head around. And then a friend of mine that I was with was talking about Montgomery Meigs and his. For anyone that doesn't know the story of Arlington, he built Arlington on the Robert E. Lee plantation. That's Arlington National Cemetery is on the Lee plantation because he said that the consequences of the war would be buried at his doorstep and he would never return to his home. And so Robert E. Lee never went home and they buried the Union dead, starting in
Under the
the
property.
starting at the garden right outside the front door. And it's an incredibly moving story, but also then when you see the Arlington Bridge and then the mansion up on the hill, it's very moving. I love Washington D.C. can be infuriating and also gorgeous, almost in the same day. A lot of times, it's incredible. Uh,
I went to school there. And so I would go. There were many times when I would just go early in the morning to do what you just did, because it is so incredible. It's like going to church. It's so soulfully replenishing. The Lincoln Memorial more than any other place. Arlington too. I saw this clip of Ken Burns talking about that moment when they decided to bury the bodies on Robert E. Lee's land. His setup. Have you seen that clip by any chance?
mm-mm.
It's really fascinating. He says Lincoln tells his generals, he says, until I have a general who understands math, we're never going to win this war. And what he was saying was, we can't beat Lee strategically or tactically. He's just too strong. But we have more men. We have to throw bodies at this. We need more battles because we can lose more men than he can lose, and we will lose more men in each battle. And that was when we started accumulating more deaths in order to we had to find a place to bury them, and
Yeah.
that was the lead up to it.
Um, I I find that history helps me a lot with our current state
It's
of things.
comforting.
Yeah. Um, we are we stand on the shoulders of better people than ourselves, or uh, supposed to. I think Lincoln was a good man. Uh, I do think he was more concerned uh, with holding the Union together than abolishing slavery. But I also think he understood that he had those that were abolishing slavery, and that he could concentrate on holding the Union together.
That's right.
Um, and I think that understanding what you have around you is also very important. You can't do everything. Um,
You have to. That's politics, and he was good at it.
he had John Brown and Frederick Douglass.
John
Uh,
Brown or Douglas, and they were let him forget. That is
so
huge.
I think there is something to be said for that part of it.
I will say, being able to debate at Oxford was probably the second most, biggest nights of my career. The first was I was invited to speak at Cooper Union on the 160th anniversary of Lincoln's speech at Cooper Union when I was with the Lincoln Project.
oh
And
wow.
it was February of 2020. And Cooper Union, I don't know if you've ever been there, down in Manhattan. There were six of us went, five or six of us, and we were asked to speak 160 years to the night on the same stage that Lincoln gave his address on, with the Lincoln podium, the same podium that he used to give what became known as the right makes might speech. And the right makes might speech was an argument that it is our moral disposition which makes us a strong country, not our military might. And it was the argument that launches the Republican Party as a national party, and it launches his candidacy, makes him a national figure, and he basically pushes William Seward out of contention with this speech. And so to hold on to that podium 160 years to the night on the stage where he was standing giving this speech, essentially saying that party is not this party anymore.
Mhm.
Um, but I think my point, Robert, was exactly what you just said. Is he didn't have the luxury of choosing between those two. He knew that he had to hold together Union, while the other abolitionists, the Douglases, the Frederick Douglasses, the Thaddeus Stevens, those voices were not going to allow any compromise on that. It was coming. War was coming with his election. As much as he didn't want it to happen, he knew it was coming. And secession was coming. And his job, at least politically, was to say it's about union. It's not about freeing the slaves, but they're one and the same.
I think post Lincoln, I think that if Lincoln had survived, the Confederates would have been dealt with differently.
100%.
They certainly never would have had any former Confederate holding office.
Andrew Johnson gave it away, gave it back,
Yeah. Um,
gave it back.
and I think that is the great uh, tragedy of Lincoln's death. It's not just the loss of the man; it's the loss of what could have been if he continued that legacy forward.
That's why there must be justice after this administration.
Yeah.
There must be justice after this administration. We can't sweep this under the rug for the sake of peace and for the sake of unity. We have to learn that lesson. We
Was
have to. There has to be justice, and we have to do it as a generation to redeem ourselves. We voted for this two times, almost three times. We don't reclaim our standing, our virtue. Redemption requires we mete out justice.
I I think there is. I don't know how this movement survives. I mean, I know that they will try to paint it as the election was stolen. They won't have the numbers of support for that sort of rhetoric. I don't think.
I hope not.
You know,
I agree with you.
when I was in Philadelphia, I went to the Congress Hall. I love going to Congress Hall. It's more so than the Independence Hall where they sat. I love going to First Congress uh,
What is it? What
because
about it? Yeah, yeah, tell us.
the number of things that happened in that room. It's
Mm.
great that we signed a constitution over there. That's fine, and that and there's and that we they had the the first congressional Congress. Like that's great. But what happens in first Congress is that you have George Washington takes his second inaugural upstairs. Um, the first peaceful transfer of power happened in that room.
Mm.
Uh, and that's the idea that that was the first time that had ever happened in human history, save for the Roman Republic. But that a man would just hand it over. That's I know it sounds real nerdy to be, but when you sit in the room and you see the chairs that were there and how small it was, and that right over there is the first time that a man who had everything and could have kept having it, he could have George Washington could have been president to the day he died.
Yeah.
Said no, I want to go home and I'm going to pass this, and you know gave it away. That's incredibly moving. And then we did it time after time after time. Even when Adams lost to Jefferson, there was a peaceful transfer of power, and that probably should have been the first one where there were fists thrown. But uh, they believed in the idea so much that even that strong of a disagreement about who should be like was a peaceful transfer. It happened every time until
Trump.
2020 or 2021. That's
It's the most sacred of all of our institutions because it is truly a moral disposition. It's more powerful than any words we could write on any parchment. The peaceful transfer of power says everything about the faith and fidelity you have in the idea of this project.
but what do you do, like when a congressman doesn't leave his office?
God willing, we won't find out, Robert, but I fear we will.
One of those idiots is going to pull that.
Maybe the speaker.
Um, it's going to be. There has to be some grown-ups in the room, uh, and I. Uh, I'm not saying don't go vote. There will be a mechanism. There, something will. Uh, Someone will have thought through this, but the the peaceful transfer of power, I think, is the most should have been, or I think is what set us apart as the most is one of the most American traits of governance. Is that when if you lost, you just walked away from it. Uh,
There's
and I think,
something there's
yeah,
something bigger than you.
yeah,
And
uh,
as long as you believe in there's something bigger than you, then the American project can continue. Without that, it's tyranny.
yeah. That's I think that there is too much at stake for that to occur. Uh, but I think that anyway, it's something I've thought about since. Not to put that into people's minds. I think we're fine, but
I think we're
it's
gonna have to
certainly been
talk
brought
about
up.
it more as we get closer. That's the importance of winning a big election. Can't be close, man.
Yeah,
Because
uh,
it will give the cowards, it will strike fear in them.
I think Annie Andrews is going to beat Lindsey Graham.
That would be massive. If it's gonna happen in a year, it's gonna happen in this year.
Um, her primary numbers look good. I just pulled the numbers a little bit ago. He does not. He only got 57% of the primary vote.
Of all the people that should go down in infamy and be remembered for a century, it's him.
Um, she's going to end up with like 70% of the Democratic primary vote, but I think they'll all throw their support. I don't think that he'll get enough support. And they had similar numbers in primary turnout. So I think she'll get it.
I hope so. The numbers look better. This 2020, we spent a lot of money at the Lincoln Project against Lindsay too, and against Susan Collins. They're both weaker now than they were.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I think this is Lindsay's got a Trump endorsement. He only got 57
Seven.
for yeah 57. It's not good.
They don't like him down there.
No, I think he's done. I don't think he'll get any of the independent vote. Uh, I
That
think
would be.
Andy will. Andy's a doctor. Like she's sharp, and she said in an interview two terms and she's going back to private practice. She has no interest in being a politician.
We need more of those.
We need a generation of them,
A generation of them.
um, and we might get it at least to some degree. I think. Uh,
I am hopeful, Robert, with all of this stuff. Like I said, I believe through struggle you build virtue. This is how character is forged through struggle, through sacrifice, through fight, through grit.
uh, I do try to remind myself this is not the worst time in human history, but it certainly is. It feels worse because we know so much more. We should be better than this. Uh,
That's a good way to put it.
uh, we're supposed to be better than this. But here we are. I think there are a lot of good people fighting this, and there's certainly a lot more people engaged. And if nothing else, we walk out of this with an engaged electorate. And I'm sure that you have said throughout your career that you just wish people were more involved.
Oh, always.
I
That's
think
good.
we're getting it in the worst for the worst possible reason, but
That's
um,
usually the way it happens.
yeah,
But I think that good people are getting better and worse people are getting worse. but
probably true.
I think I think we are forging a better now. I think we're becoming a better people. I do. I will say this. I think I haven't felt that way. This is really in the last 5 or 6 months. Just finally going, you know what? I think that I see a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think people are just either fatigued or are ready for something better and they're just ready to move on from this. Not not as much as there should be, but enough. As Joe Biden said, all you need is enough. All you need
Well,
is enough.
I think whenever you see look a lot plenty of people voted for Paxton in that primary, but I think the ones that didn't are starting to see that hey man, this is not what we want representing us. Uh, like this shouldn't be our choice. Like Cornyn should have walked away with that. But I think what happens is now you have Tallarico cakewalks that. Um,
Robert, if Tallarico wins, you cut the head off of the snake because that opens up Texas to the 270 map, and
yeah,
that's a whole different ballgame.
Tallarico Paxton won by 61%, um, which is, I think, in my opinion, far enough below Trump's approval rating uh, that that other 49% ain't voting for Paxton in a general. Um, they'll either sit at home or they'll vote for Tallarico. Um, Paxton's a corrupt man. If you didn't vote for him in the general, it's because you don't like him as a human being. You're not going to vote for him in a general.
I think that's right.
Um,
You know he is. It's not that you think he is. It's just
yeah.
they don't even hide it.
So that's where I think you can say. I mean, people can say whatever they want to about Tallarico. Uh, you're not going to convince someone that didn't want to vote for Paxton in a primary to vote for him in a general.
I think
You
that's right.
pick you
I think
pick
that's
the
right.
worst possible person. I think you would. I think Cornyn wins. I think Cornyn beats Tallarico
I
in
agree.
Texas.
I
I
agree.
think Paxton loses by double digits.
That big.
Yeah, I
I
think the
mean that.
general turnout is going to be huge, and I think it is going to be mostly independents that are not going to vote for that. You might
I
be able to
mean
convince a MAGA loyalist that Paxton's the right guy. You're not going to convince an independent
independence.
voter in Texas that some guy that was impeached for corruption that just let a pedophile out of jail, like a confessed, not alleged, like a confessed child rapist out of jail after 30 days, that's the guy you want representing you. I think you will take Tallarico every day. Uh,
Hard to argue with. Yeah.
I mean, Tallarico's a minister. I mean, he will appeal to that conservative, that whatever they want to call themselves, that sort of I go to regular church occasionally kind of person that you know has been swayed by messaging about whatever they think Democrats are going to do. Uh, as a minister, I think it's going to speak to them in a way that will push him over the. I think he's I think it's a double digit win over Paxton easy.
Well,
I'll,
that picks up most of those redistricted seats. Picks up the Rio Grande Valley for the Democrats.
yeah. Uh, I think I think that Republicans. I think they got too greedy with that map in Texas.
Of course they did.
You're talking about 3 and 4 percentage points and a plus 13, plus 17 in a wave year. That's crazy, Mike.
Silly. Yeah, that's just believing in your own press clippings, man.
I feel like they would have been better served. Not that I ever to just shore up guaranteed seats. Add like let Democrats have some, but just make sure that you have uncontested seats that you're not going to lose. I think you're opening yourself up to losing 10 in Texas instead of gaining 5. I think you're going to go the other way.
I love your optimism, brother.
Uh, I'm not, it just feels like Texas is primed to turn over some. I mean, it is.
I've been studying Texas. I used to work for a Texas firm back in the late 90s. And I've done comparisons and contrasts with California and Texas. Why did one state go so far red? Why did one state go so far blue? So far blue, they're virtually identical demographically on paper. They couldn't have been more over the last generation, more different politically. Texas, and I've never believed this Texas is going blue stuff. I was very public saying Beto O'Rourke is not going to win. I can't say that this year. Everything that has to happen to have Texas go towards the Democrats, you have to have a very sour mood against the Republicans. You have that. You have to have an extraordinary crossover candidate as a Democratic nominee. You have that. And you have to have a particularly weak, especially bad Republican nominee. And you have that.
Representative Wu of Texas was at Netroots, and he was sitting on a panel. I talked to him a little bit, and he said that the Democrats sitting in chambers and looking at the maps are like, who drew these maps? Because whoever drew these maps is not from Texas.
They're not. They're DC guys.
And because he said a lot of Democrats were like, let them have them, let them have them. Like, this is ridiculous. Um,
They
because
they drew
a
them in
lot of
DC and told Abbott these are the maps. Get it done. Trump told Abbott, here's the maps. That's exactly what happened. They weren't Texas map makers. They were
because
DC guys.
Republicans are also a little nervous about those maps because they
They should
included.
be.
He said that they split Latino communities that they don't understand that this is a different city, this is a different group of people. They're going to vote completely differently. And like, you can't just put them all together and expect that those numbers stay the same. Uh, After listening and talking to him, I feel
Better.
they've made a
Terrible
gross
mistake.
error in judgment. The best thing that could have happened to them is for the Supreme Court that said these are invalid.
Save them
Uh,
from themselves.
it's the same thing in Louisiana. Like they're letting guys in DC who are looking at numbers on a map draw these maps, um, and that will hurt them. Uh, I don't know why. It seems pretty. It seems pretty absurd to people like me and you that they would ever let that happen. So why do they let that happen? Like, why would they
Because
go
it's
along with
all
that?
it's all fealty to Trump. And Trump isn't going to trust them to do the right thing. He's going to tell his people to do what he wants done. It's a command and control economy, command and controlled governance. Everything is run out of Trump world, and Trump world is a small circle. They're not going to say, Abbott, go fix the maps. They're going to say, here's the maps. Does that make sense?
I mean, it makes sense. Well, that
You
he
hear
would
what
do
I'm
it
saying?
that way makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
The the thing I don't understand is why you're so lost in it that you wouldn't say, "Nah, brother, this isn't going to work."
That's the emperor. That's the 10-year-old saying the emperor has no clothes. That will never
Uh,
come from them.
Imagine for a second, Mike, being so, I don't even know what the word is, that you won't even stand up and say, "Hey, I'm smarter than this." Like you're just a little like to be a little boy. That's what my father would say. Is that you were just little boy in that situation. Uh, you let somebody be the grown man and tell you what to do, and that just uh, I don't know. You shouldn't. When you all have the same job and you know that something like you should stand up and say, "Hey, that's not. We're not gonna. This is crazy." To be
Robert,
so afraid.
you just described 100 of my closest colleagues over the past 30 years. Every one of them knows that it's wrong. Everyone knows that it's stupid. Not a single one of them has the balls to stand up and say, that's not a good idea. Not even that.
So they're just going to fade into
What they do, what I have found is what they do is they lie to themselves, telling them that if we just keep going, this guy keeps winning. If you just keep believing it, whatever he's losing isn't really a loss. It's just a step to the next win. You believe his own delusion. That's what they do. And it's horrifying. But you can't. There are some people those that really understand power, like the folks in DC, that will say behind closed doors, the Thunes of the world, this guy's a fucking disaster. He's destroying it. How do we mitigate the losses? How do we quietly undermine him and deal with the palace intrigue? But for the average person that's a lobbyist, a government affairs person, a staffer on the Hill, if you're still MAGA after 10 years and you've seen all of this and you know that there's no, it's kind of like what I mean, you saw the speech and I was saying it to these think tank guys. There is no logic. We are like cats chasing our tails. You are learned, educated men, and you are looking for logic. You're looking for reason when you know it does not exist. And you will whirl yourself into a frenzy, trying to catch your tail, pretending that somehow somebody is playing 4D chess and it's all going to make sense once you finally catch your tail. But you know what's going to happen? You're going to collapse in complete exhaustion and realize that there is no underlying moral compass here. There never was, and there never will be. And you all know that to be true.
so what happens when this what happens in 28 or in well, I mean, we can talk about 28, but what happens in the midterms after they all lose?
Well, that's where I think you're going to start. Look, we're already seeing the fleeing happen, right? That's why the Marjorie Taylor Greene, Massey, Epstein vote, that stuff mattered. Like it didn't feel like it was, but those were the first breaks. And like I said, we're not feeling. I mean, the ICE stuff is going to start coming back. They're going to start ramping that up. But right now, like people aren't feeling like afraid of him right now. They're just seeing that not 60 minutes. It was the NBC interview, the Meet the Press interview that where he has to get help up and he hobbles off. This is a feeble old man. This is not the bull in the china shop in 2015 where he's coming out. Do yourself a favor, like YouTube search the speech at the end of when he first announces he's running. He's an older guy, but he's full of vigor and fight. Look at him now. Like, watch them
Look, I
side
can
by side.
his the moment Trump won the election in 2016 was his debate against Hillary Clinton, where he said, "I can beat these people because I am these people. I understand." Like that's the moment he won. He established himself as an outside. I mean, there's no question about it. He beat her right there in that moment. No, anything that happened after that didn't matter. Um, and there are interviews with Trump prior to him running. Uh, he was a different person when he talked about transgender. Like he didn't care about transgender people. Let people be who they're going to be. Didn't matter to him. Didn't matter. He was a different person. I'm not saying he was a good person, but he was a
No,
different person.
yeah.
uh, and he was more cognizant.
Coherent.
He could speak off the cuff, and it made
Sense.
sense. For anyone supporting him past 2018, um, you should be able to say, this is a different person. And if you think that's the same person, you're out of your mind.
How many cognitive tests do you need to take and talk about before everybody realizes why is this guy taking 4 cognitive tests a year?
Mike, if someone made you take a cognitive test,
I
would
don't
you ever tell anybody about it?
know.
Not a
And it
chance.
didn't take one. He's taking them regularly. I mean, how many strokes did this guy have? Some doctor's going to write the book when the guy dies and says, "Hey, the guy had a series of strokes. Here's what was really going on," and he'll make his own $1 million when he tells us what was going on.
Oh, his private physician is keeping extensive notes.
Of
There's going to be a
course.
tell-all like you wouldn't
Oh,
believe.
oh,
I um I I think there's something to those weeks at the beginning of the month where he's just, I don't know if it's diuretics that he's taken or if it's some sort of, I think they're just keeping him going on Adderall and uh
something. Pop him
uh
up, drug him up.
and and whatever the diuretic is that pulls the fluid off of your heart. I mean, because they don't care about him. When he goes, I think they would be
Hey, let me.
prefer that he
No,
win.
nobody wants him to leave the planet more than the Republicans in Washington D.C.
100%.
No,
Um,
John Thune is just waiting him out.
uh,
So's Ted Cruz, who wants to be president. Everybody wants to be president. They're just waiting it out.
what do you think their rhetoric changes to? The moment
That's
that guy's, do they make him a martyr or do they make him the scapegoat?
they're going to try to do the Charlie Kirk thing, and it'll last for a gaudy, ostentatious, gold leafed month, and then finally one person will say this is bullshit, kind of like Candace Owens saying Erica Kirk's a fraud, and then it all falls apart. Same thing's going to happen.
My friend Lysandra once said that she never thought that there could be a person that made Charlie Kirk seem reasonable, but Erica Kirk makes her wish that Charlie was back. I was like, I agree with that sentiment. Uh,
There's
Erica
a,
Kirk makes Charlie seem like a completely reasonable human being.
there's a lot of Erica Kirks in MAGA land.
Uh,
That person
yeah,
behind the scenes, that's what enabled the whole grossness. There's a lot of
I,
that, man. That is the dominant characteristic. It's Kimberly Guilfoyle. It's just opportunism.
yeah.
It's just rank opportunism.
Do you think? Do you think there is more martyrdom, or do you think there is more? This guy was the problem. We should have. I mean, there's no denying that he has caused a. I mean, he'll cause a recession at best. All we'll have is a recession.
Do you think
So
Trump
I,
will be a martyr?
yeah, like, do they martyr him, or do you think that there will be some? They'll throw him under the bus. They'll be like, we couldn't.
It's gonna be a lot like Charlie Kirk. There's gonna be a lot of streets named after him in red places. There will be shrines to him. It'll be kind of like Ceausescu. There will always be, for the next 30 years, people going and crying at the gravestone of Donald Trump. That's going to happen. But it's going to be a small, weird. It's not going to be like the country is going to rally behind that. No, no. Uh-uh. He's not going to be a martyr. No. I mean, to that weird cult, yeah.
Yeah.
But that cult's not big anymore. Look, man, for all the hoopla that we thought Charlie Kirk was gonna be, it's kind of fell apart pretty freaking fast. These Turning Point USA things are collapsing. They're at civil war. It's coming apart at the seams. Like they were talking like it was the beginning of 1,000 years of new troops. Like this is the new Reich. I mean,
Um,
no, it's gone. It's a joke.
well, there's no one to rally behind.
Well, yeah. And that's what a cult requires.
Um,
Is it gonna
Trump's
be
not pushing it. You expect Erica to, and she's the craziest looking person on the planet. Um, there's no sentiment behind Erica Kirk that makes people want to. Uh, she's not carrying the same. I mean, I think that look, Charlie Kirk was a bad person, but he gave those people some sort of fundamental compass that to rally behind. She doesn't have that, which it's great that. But I think she thought she could be that person. It would be bigger.
yeah,
Uh,
but understand something. Candace Owens declared war on her. She would
yeah,
never do that to Charlie.
yeah.
Megan Taylor, Megan Kelly, excuse me. Megan Kelly joins the war. The whole thing with Israel is splits once Charlie. I mean, weird timing. I'm not conspiracy. I'm not going to say any more than that. But that's when it all comes apart. Like he was literally on stage trying to negotiate Ben Shapiro versus, the critics of it. And it was getting unmanageable. Literally the days before he's killed, and then suddenly it's just complete open warfare.
Mhm.
So there's something much bigger. The riff is a personality one for sure, but it's also a battle of interests. I don't even know if it's ideological. Maybe it is, but it's about interest. And by the way, the idea that Turning Point USA was somehow an organic creation of this amazing Charlie Kirk charismatic guy is complete horseshit. This was funded by hundreds of millions of dollars of very sophisticated communications money that came in. I
Uh,
mean, Turning Point USA is it's weaponized military grade communication strategy.
I love that people think that Turning Point went from a very small thing to the largest right wing propaganda machine in a matter of months.
Yeah, he's that charismatic. Right.
Yeah. I've
Right.
never seen a less charismatic person. Uh,
And to think that it was just a couple of donors, that's that's government level money.
unless you consider Hungary ad
Right.
donor.
Yes. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. That's how
Yeah.
that money moves through governments. Exactly.
Um, but yeah, you don't. And what's funny is you start to see the right wing propaganda machine. Now that money's not coming in like that, brother, that side is drying up.
That's what I'm saying. Yes. It was all
Uh,
fake anyway. It was all propped up money anyway. Organizational. It's gone now.
Daily Wire fired half its staff. They're probably going to fire another half in the coming months. Uh,
That's Michael Knowles too, isn't it?
mhm. um, Turning points drying up. All those charters, like 90% of the campus charters were fake. There were no members.
That's what I'm saying.
Um, it's so the right wing propaganda machine is drying up. With that drying up, your messaging is not. You can't red pill these young people anymore. They're not watching Fox News. Greg Gutfeld doesn't appeal to them. Um, uh, so I mean, you're losing a lot. I think that when we look back, I think we'll see Viktor Orban's loss in Hungary as probably the biggest turning point in this for us. Uh,
Well, I think that's certainly a big part of it. But look at the other things that's happened is we are at a war. We're at a war with Iran, where we are now in direct conflict with Bibi Netanyahu.
Mhm.
And the Ukrainians are on the march against the Russians. They're advancing. Russia's losing the war. They're losing ground in the war. So where a lot of that money was coming from is not coming from there anymore. So will he be a martyr? I think in a Tom Steyer AstroTurf kind of way, yeah. Is that a real martyr? No. Is
I
Charlie
think. I think he will be. I think he will have fans. Uh,
What was that?
I think he'll have fans. I mean,
Yeah.
hell, Hitler had fans.
That's what I'm saying. It's
At
like
the end.
Ceausescu. There
Yeah.
will always be a small part of the population that will go daily and take him flowers to the end of their own days. Yes. Th-
Um,
will he be a George Washington or a Ronald Reagan figure? No. To the right? No.
where do you think they'll bury him? Mar-a-Lago?
Mar-a-Lago.
I hope so. Uh, I I I also told people that I would go see him lay in state just to make sure that it was real.
Knock on his forehead a little bit.
Yeah, just to make sure that it's not a joke. Uh, I I think that we've made real progress. I think that we're about over the cliff's edge.
It feels that way.
I think that the turning point. I think we'll see some real change after the midterms, even in red states. Um, some brakes get put on some of these red state lawmakers. Then I wonder what the last 2 years of this Trump administration looks like. It's going to be a stalemate. I mean,
I don't. Yeah, I think it could get very unwieldy because he's going to get more erratic, and he will be either lied to and put in cloistered, or he will lash out at his own party. And that's the thing about that's what I learned in the Lincoln Project is like in a cult, if you leave the family, they have to not just it's like Liz Cheney or Adam Kinzinger, they have to destroy you because that's the only thing that keeps fealty the number one characteristic. The
well,
Democrats are bad. The Democrats are bad and they're horrible people, but it's the turncoats, the betrayers have to be destroyed.
now you've got Kevin Warsh in as the Fed chair, and he has to raise rates. There's no way around it. Like you have to raise rates. Trump wants him to drop them.
I know. That's why he was put there.
What do you do?
If you're Warsh, you do what Trump told you to do.
Well, yeah, but the governors aren't going to him lower the rates. I mean, it's not a
There's no
unilateral
votes. There's no
decision.
votes. Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. It's like, what's Gorsuch gonna do? What's Kavanaugh gonna do? They're gonna do what they're told to do, right? The votes aren't there on the board, so there'll be a split board. Rates will go up. He's gonna lose his mind. We're not gonna get a good, peaceful resolution in Iran, of course. Of course, we're not. Ukraine's gonna keep advancing and moving forward. Um,
Israel won't stop bombing Lebanon.
no, no.
Uh,
No, that's the thing is BB can't stop. Once he stops, he's going to jail. Like he's not going to stop.
um,
It's not geopolitical. It's self-preservation.
100%. He doesn't. He will
No,
bomb anywhere that he can put a bomb.
that's what this is
Uh,
about for him. That's what the whole damn
um,
thing's about.
he's going to jail for a long time.
Yeah, that's why he's got to keep war going somewhere. He's got to be at
Um,
war.
and I think that will be the thing. Like he will. You can't negotiate with that
No,
mindset.
no.
Um, it's also the reason why I don't think that they actually have weapons. But you and I have talked about that. That I don't. Uh,
I do think that there is a scenario, and I don't want to scare people, but there is a scenario where Trump basically has to take on his own people. If there is no if Mike Johnson refuses to seat a new Congress, what happens? I don't think the American people are going to be at a point where they're just going to roll over and take it. I don't think they are. I could be wrong, but I don't think they are.
oh no, I so much of most of governance is dependent upon uh, people obeying the rules that we've set out for ourselves.
Yeah, there's no
Uh,
overarching authority. It's just your own moral disposition.
uh, I I think that him refusing to seat the new Congress because of the overwhelming support that will be on the Democratic side uh, will be catastrophic.
I think that's a very real scenario, by the way. I think it's probably more likely than less. I don't think this is going to end in a whimper.
I don't think Mike Johnson has it in him.
I hope not.
He doesn't.
It's like Mike Pence, all these mics.
Um,
The last minute. If Mike Johnson has the courage, if Mike Johnson has the courage to do the right thing, the Republicans will hold on to Congress. That's what's
his,
going to happen. Is Trump's going to be like, don't, you're not seating a new Congress, and he's going to be like, Mr. President, I have to, and he's going to say, don't you dare, and he's going to go up there and he's going to gavel in a new Congress. Is what's going to happen. It'll be, and then you'll have more, Proud Boys and Oath Keepers knocking down on the Congress's door. It's going to be some shit like that. It's going to be.
the thing that scares me, and I don't want to. Again, this is not a fear mongering thing. Um, the next time there is that, there has to be Capitol Police will not respond the way they did before.
What do you think?
They'll defend it. They killed 7 Capitol Police officers. They won't do it again. Um,
I think it's going to be a hell of a moment if you start hearing word about a rally going to be taking place on the day they seat the new Congress.
also, let's call a spade a spade. You've seen the Proud Boys, right? Like the Gravy Seals and the uh, Meal Team Six guys.
Mill Team Six, yeah.
They don't. They're not serious. Um, I mean, they think they are.
They think they are, which makes
Um,
them dangerous in their own way.
uh, but I think that Capitol Police take their job very seriously at
I
this
think
point
I think
after moving different.
I think you're going to see counter protests show up.
Yeah.
I think other citizens are going to be like, "Let's go, let's fight for it."
Um, gosh, I hope not.
I hope not too, but I'm not going to say it's a 0% chance.
Oh, there's not a 0% chance. I think uh, I think we that moments like this happen. Uh,
They
what
just
I am,
did, yeah.
yeah. Um, I Albania is in the middle of what they're calling the Flamingo Revolution. Right? You've heard about this. They are protesting Jared Kushner's attempt to buy this island in Albania and put this resort on it because of what it will do to the wildlife there. And they don't want Trump having any part of the thing. So they're protesting it. You should Google it when we get off of here. Hundreds of thousands of them in the street. It's
Albania, by the way, is one of the most corrupt countries in the Western world. So if they're pissed, yeah.
they're very mad. They're going to overthrow their government um, in a big
What
way.
they're buying an island for the uber rich or something? Is that what it is?
Kind of, yeah. But they're going to make like a private resort thing, like so. It's the citizenry of Albania is not having. Like it's not going to happen. But now there may be even bigger implications about the government being. It's going to be a thing uh, because again, once you have 200,000 people in the street, it's over. Like it's you don't put a lid back on that pot.
That's what we're going to need to do.
Uh, so I think that people have reached a boiling point against this kind of nonsense. So, uh, look, I saw the Proud Boys that showed up at Delaney Hall. It's not the same counter. Uh, these aren't. There's not as many of them, and they are in far worse shape than they were 8 years ago. You know what I mean? Uh,
I do believe there's going to have to be a showdown of the people. I do believe that. And I
I
think
don't.
I think it will be good for us as a country that we have
Yeah,
that in us.
I think you're right.
If 100,000 people of goodwill show up in the streets of DC to counter protest 10,000 Proud Boys, that's a damn good moment for America.
Oh, and it
That's
would. The numbers are would. I've been in this. Like I don't.
yeah, I
But I've
know.
been in Minnesota. I've been to the protest where the numbers won't even be close.
And that's what we need. I think we
Uh,
need that.
it's I've seen the counter protests and they are abysmal. Um, so whatever, and people on the left are very willing to show up.
I think that we need it.
Uh,
I would actually I think as precarious as the moment would be, I think it's a necessary thing to do. Is
I'll
to
be
have
there.
that show of force where forces of goodwill are outnumbering the others by a factor of 10 to 1.
Well, I was planning to be there anyway, so
Well, I may show up with you. Robert, I'm at 2%. My phone's gonna die.
well, it is only hour three and a half.
I don't even know if
Or
Substack will let me upload this thing. But
um,
I missed you. We haven't talked in a long time.
yeah. Well, let's get on the phone in the next day or two. I will. I'm actually gonna. Um, I'll text you about. Well, I'll call you tomorrow and tell you about what I've
Call
got
me
going on
tomorrow.
in the thing, and then I want to hear about England. And so,
Let's
uh,
do it. We'll talk
yeah,
tomorrow. I'm around all day.
perfect. Sounds good, man.
Thanks,
Talk to
everybody.
y'all
Have a
later,
good
man.
night. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.